Hey, thanks for tuning in. I'm Kyle is Wonderful. This is the year-end review for the WWE 2K22 Universe mode. We just finished 2022. We started this the beginning of May. Right now, it's the end of May, real life. So it just so happened it coincided exactly with the start time of Universe mode. Starts at the beginning of May. So it I don't know if I'm gonna be able to stream as much as I did this month, but it basically a month it took about a year, although we didn't finish a full year yet, so but the month's not over. So about a month equal a year. I don't know how many years we're gonna go into this, but I've got some ideas at least going up to WrestleMania and maybe an idea if we get into a third year about maybe adding weight classes and weight divisions like UFC all the way throughout the board. So those are some things I might think about for 2024. So we're coming up to 2023. We just hit where I stopped the streams at is Raw, the beginning of January 2023. So we're just coming up to WrestleMania, the one in LA. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to have some version of Roman Reigns and The Rock in the ring. And I've got a couple other things planned, but we'll see what happens. One cool thing about Universe mode is, unlike real life, the Royal Rumble, literally anybody can win. Like, we know in real life that like Apollo Crews and Montes Ford and Dolph Ziggler, um, Reggie, those guys are never gonna win the Royal Rumble to go on the headline or at least have a title match at WrestleMania. But in the universe mode, literally our truth could be the Royal Rumble winner. And well, that's just where the story will take us. So that's gonna be really exciting. Maybe if I stay up late tonight, we can get to the Royal Rumble, but I doubt it. But probably look for the Royal Rumble tomorrow, and it should be really good. And I've built up the rosters enough now that I'm pretty sure I've got enough women to just have it all be main roster women in the women's Royal Rumble. I might throw in a Trish Stratus and a Beth Phoenix. I'd have to see some of what the other legends are, and then potentially a couple NXT. But I already made a lot of NXT calls. That's the thing. I'm trying to make this exactly like real life. Like everything is real life roster as far as like I don't have Kyle O'Reilly in it because in real life he's signed to AEW, and it doesn't have like Brock Lesnar because he's not around, or John Cena. They haven't made any appearances in Universe mode because we don't know when and if they're ever coming back. If they come back in real life, then I'll give them a run, maybe for a month or so in the universe mode and see where that goes. Um, but yeah, I'm trying to do it as close as possible. But I wanted to balance out the rosters because it was really getting tired of like so much Madcap Moss and Shanky on the Smackdown shows, like before I fixed the rosters. So I made call ups like Braun Breaker and all of Legado del Fantasma, including adding Roxanne Perez to Legado del Fantasma, so that they could be a tag team, her and Elektra Lopez. So I added a few more like Erica Yan wasn't really doing anything in NXT, and she's only been wrestling on Level Up in real life. But I did put her with Xia Li as a tag team. So trying to build up the tag team divisions. Like I had Naomi and Sasha was one of my in real life and the video game some of the most fun I've had, because I loved the entrance I had them do. They were doing the fabulous Freebirds entrance, and it really matched up well with the music and their personality. And they were on a run. I was just about to have them lose because, as we'll get to the Judgment Day, the Rise of Judgment Day is the main story coming out of Universe mode so far. But before Judgment Day was taken over, I was about to have Judgment Day beat um Naomi and Sasha in the universe mode, right? Like it ended up the day after, the morning after. It wasn't even like 12 hours fresh from hearing the news. It was when I had already planned on at Clash at the Castle having Judgment Day win the titles off of them, and then I just haven't had them return to the universe mode yet. So that's the kind of rules I'm trying to stick to here. We don't know if Sasha and Naomi's coming back at all, if ever. If they come back, or if we get any news, I'll add them back in. If not, they won't make an appearance. You know, we might get one of those days where it's the 15 mass firings, and all of a sudden, Commander Aziz, Apollo Crews, Shelton, Cedric, Reggie, Akira, like they could all be fired in the moments, like without any warning. And then I would have to immediately, like the next time I stream, take them out of the universe mode. And we'll just keep going and going like this. I don't know how many years. I don't know if universe mode goes forever. Like I've been disappointed in the past. Like for instance, one of my favorite video games of all time, which is making a return soon, I think in a year's time, NCAA football, which is college American football. One of my favorite games ever, and because of the Dynasty mode. And if you know, not to get into a huge tangent, but excuse me, Dynasty mode was great because it was year after year after year, but then all of a sudden it just ends. And the same thing happened to me in FIFA. I finally got to the Champions League with like a Division 4 team from England, so all the way up. I got into the Champions League, and then I was excited to play that Champions League the next season, and the Dynasty mode or whatever they call it, franchise mode, just ended. It's like, oh, you have retired as coach. Like, even though I didn't want to. So I don't know. I'd have to look into it and see if any of you guys know, comment on this video and I'll see it. I don't know if universe mode ends at a point or if it keeps going. But like I said, I'm going to try and keep it as up to date as possible. I've got everybody in this down to the performance center recruits. I'm really only missing one person that's had a match on Level Up, Demarius Griffin. I can't find anybody. I'm terrible at I can make outfits and I'm really good at the entrances and stuff like that, but I'm terrible at the face part. Maybe I can start learning so I can get Demarius Griffin in there because it doesn't seem like anybody's made him yet. But I've got everybody from the Performance Center on up is in this, so and I'm trying to grow it organically at the same time. Make it real life. So for instance, like I'm trying to like the passage of time is going on. Like we're into 2023 now in our universe mode. So like some of the people that are new to NXT and maybe have only been around for a month in real life now have like 7 months experience under their belt kind of thing. So I'm trying to like factor that into play, but still everybody else around them is going to be even that much more experience, you know. So like an Indy Hartwell's now on like her 4th or 5th year, for instance. So trying to go from there. Like I was able to like at a point when I was taking people from the NXT roster to the main roster to balance things out. Like I said, I was too many Shanky and Madcap Moss matches, so I needed to call people up. But there has been influx of people into NXT still. Like the last bit of downloadable content gave me Ilya Dragunov, which is great, and I think I was in like maybe November, but at the very least October, which I could see by October and November in real life them calling Ilya Dragunov from NXT UK up to NXT, which is what I did in this game. So and I figured that was the perfect time to have like an NXT UK invasion, which if you've noticed, they've been doing a lot of. It started with Grizzled Young Veterans, Walter, Imperium, then now Pretty Deadly is over there. A-Kid came from there, Nathan Frazier. So it definitely looks like NXT UK, you get the call up from NXT. If you're really good at NXT UK, you get the call up to NXT, and then for those guys, they seem to get fast tracked more than like a raw recruit coming out of the Performance Center. Like Walter / Gunter is already on the main roster, along with Marcel Bartel / Ludwig Kaiser. So I'm trying to keep that in mind. So when I had lost all those NXT guys to make the balanced rosters on the main roster for Universe Mode, I was able to add people like Ilya Dragunov, and then when I did him, I brought in Jordan Devlin, which I think any week now Jordan Devlin's going to make his debut in NXT in real life. And I also brought in Mustache Mountain, which I don't know if they're ever going to come back to NXT. I know they've been in NXT before, and now they're in NXT UK. But what's his name? Trent Seven is 40 years old, so I don't know if he's gonna ever go back to NXT. Tyler Bate, on the other hand, is like 25, 26, and I could definitely see him in the main roster within a year's time. So maybe that's what I'll do. Right now, Mustache Mountain is in my NXT in universe mode, and maybe once they've kind of run their course there, I'll call up. Maybe come to think of it, maybe I should debut him as a tag team just to get Trent Seven that main roster. Like, here you are, buddy, and it's a good way to introduce Tyler Bate to the main roster audience through the tag team. So then I don't necessarily know if there'll be a split. For maybe we'll just have like a Trent. I'll keep an eye out because it sounds like Trent Seven is kind of more retiring or transitioning into a coach in real life. So I'll keep an eye out on what his plans are going forward. But that's an example of how I'm trying to keep this real life, but also keep in the mind the passage of time that's happening. So like for instance, win, lose or draw Roman's match with The Rock at WrestleMania. I think I'm gonna have Roman take a break, which Roman already have because since we've had reports that Roman is gonna take time off during the summer, which I had already gotten like the Summerslam when I heard that news. But I did kind of like make it so that he wasn't on as much, which he did lose the title, which we'll talk about. So it kind of made sense storyline that once he lost the title finally, that he was taking a little bit of a sabbatical. I did bring up Solo Sikoa to keep the bloodline strong. Unfortunately, the Usos weren't able to capture the unified titles in our universe. Unfortunately for the bloodline, anyway. RK Bro ended up winning what I called the world tag team titles. So those got unified. I unified them somewhere around SummerSlam. I think that might even have been the main event or the semi-main event. And the Usos won that. So that got me into an idea of I thought the whole game would run smoother if all the belts were unified, and I already brought in the old school world tag team titles, the ones from like the 90s. Um, so I just kind of decided that I was going to unify all the titles. That Survivor Series was the perfect place since all the champions fight each other anyway, and I was going to unify everything. So currently, where we stand, it's the first week of 2023. We're about to start Raw when I'm done with this podcast, and everything's unified. So there's a WWE Championship, the old Winged Eagle, the one from the early 90s, not the one from 98 onwards. Um, so, so like when Stone Cold won the title, they changed it to a more circular version, which I don't like as much. I do like it way better than anything they've had since then, but I like the old school Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Diesel, Bob Backlund, Winged Eagle. Um, so I brought the old school mid 90s Intercontinental belt back, and that unified with the US title. And then I figured, well, why not bring back the big gold belt? And a perfect way to do it would be to unify the women's SmackDown and Raw titles into the World Championship and not put the word women in there. Just the World Championship. It's the big gold belt. I did give it the white strap, which kind of gimmicks it up a little bit, but if it just kind of goes with the theme of every single other title for the women in both WWE and NXT has the white strap, and then all the now all the men's ones. Now that I don't have the Universal and the unified tag titles, all the men's ones have the black strap, and all the women's ones have the white strap. Um, the women's tag team are still called the women's tag team. Um, just because I didn't change that one. So that one's the gimmicky Saturn rings, Adam looking women's title. But I am trying to bring prestige to the women's tag title. I've built up a ton of women's tag teams. Cora Jade got called up, and she formed a tag team called the Hooligans with Liv Morgan, for example. Like, I'm trying to build up the tag division for the women. The tag division for the men looks pretty healthy. I mean, in real life, the tag division in WWE isn't that bad, and I hope they keep the unified titles because it will bring out that many more opportunities. And I am ready for either end the brand split or have a draft really soon. But let's get into it. Um, Not that I haven't. We're already 16 minutes into this podcast, but the main story. So I guess the main story is that all the belts are unified in the main roster. So everything's unified, and Roman doesn't have a title right now. Neither do the Usos. So those are like two of the biggest stories coming into. Remember, we're just starting 2023, 3 weeks away from the Royal Rumble. Um, Roman does not have the title. That was a pretty crazy story where he defended it successfully against Drew at Hell in a Cell. Wait, yeah, because I had the real life card for WrestleMania Backlash, so it was the 6-man match that Roman was in with the Usos against RK Bro and Drew. So then in our universe here, Roman fought Drew at Hell in a Cell in a ladder match. I didn't even choose that. It was just put him in a rivalry, and then at the SmackDown right before the pay-per-view, Roman pulls a ladder out. So he pretty much easily won that ladder match. No problem. There was and that went to all the way Survivor Series. I mean SummerSlam. So Roman defended the Universal title. I should have said. So only the Universal title was on the line when he fought Drew McIntyre. Then that was at Hell in the Cell. Then at um, it was Money in the Bank that he fought Drew. So I'm not quite sure exactly what happened at Hell in the Cell, but at Money in the Bank, Roman fought Drew in a ladder match, and Roman won. Meanwhile, Omos surprisingly won the Money in the Bank ladder match. So keep that in the back of your mind. Fast forward to SummerSlam, it was now WWE title was on the line. So at the last one, Roman defended the Universal title against Drew. Now the WWE title against a couple of Raw guys. The Raw before SummerSlam, it was pretty crazy. It randomly gave me a tag team with kind of weird tag team mixtures other than KO and Seth. So KO and Seth were one tag team. Another one was Bobby Lashley and AJ. And then another tag team was The Miz and Cody. And Miz and Cody ended up winning it. It was a tornado style because WWE2k can't, for whatever reason, figure out how to do multi-team regular tag matches. So if you have 3 or 4 teams involved, it has to be tornado style. And tornado means that there is no tags, which kind of defeats the whole thing. Tag team has the word tag in it. But anyway, if you have more than 2 teams that had, even if it's not like a gimmick match like ladder or Hell in the Cell or cage match or anything like that, it has to be tornado tag. So um So anyway, we're coming up to SummerSlam. Roman now has to defend against The Miz and Cody in a triple threat match, and Cody and Roman were going pretty crazy at each other and kind of tossing Miz to the side, and then Roman and Cody were going crazy again. But you know how it ends up, and it was computer Miz. I was controlling Cody, and Roman was a beast. Because I already had him high level, but then he was already like winning other matches, so he was up to like 99 overall. And Cody was also like winning matches coming into this. He pretty much won the Seth Rollins feud. Like I think he will in real life coming into this match. And then um so Cody and Roman beat up each other. Miz sneaks out of there with the title. Roman's pissed. The next night on Raw, he attacks Miz. Miz was going to have a celebratory match against Akira Tozawa, and it didn't quite go the way Miz thought. Roman came out mid-match with the ref distracted, hit Miz in the head with a chair. Akira Tozawa pins Miz miraculously. Then immediately from there, Roman beats up Miz backstage, and somehow Roman has the power and authority to schedule his WWE rematch for later that same night as the main event. So Roman easily beats Miz in the main event, but then Omos comes out with the Money in the Bank. But you would think like heel Omos with MVP, Roman just had 2 nights of defending the title. You would think Omos would cash it in right there, like the surprise cash in and steal it in. But no, Omos said, I want the main event of Raw next week to be me versus you, and I'm leaving MVP in the back. So Omos beat in a really crazy match. Omos beat Roman Reigns fair and square, clean as a whistle, no MVP in sight, which made Omos a face. And he ditched MVP. So just like Bobby Lashley, MVP got ditched by Omos. So keep that in the back of your mind for when we're going through everybody. Because after I go through this, I'm going to go through each individual person, and then we'll get back to the streaming. But yeah. So now Omos is Universal Champion. I mean WWE. Oh no. So Roman won his WWE Championship back, but what Omos cashed in on was the Universal Championship. So the next week, Omos comes out after beating Roman Reigns. He's got a red strap Universal title, and he's a face with no MVP in sight. So that goes on for a little while. Meanwhile, Roman still has the WWE title over on SmackDown. This is the point in time where Cody moves over to SmackDown because if you remember, um, Cody's whole story in real life is that he wants the title that his father thought he had, but had taken away from him by a technicality, and he wants that WWE title. So Cody moved over to SmackDown at that point, and is still over on SmackDown right now. So, because if you remember, all the belts are unified, so any champion can be fought at regardless of what brand you're on. So that's Roman's story. Pretty crazy story. Roman kind of he brought in he called up Solo Sikoa from the NXT to the SmackDown to be in the Bloodline and kind of took his place as the third member of the Bloodline. Jey Uso kind of took over as the right hand man, while second in command took over while the head of the table was on a little sabbatical. Um, and yeah, it's pretty crazy. So before I get into like go over everybody, the other major story. So I know that was already a lot, but the major story is the Judgment Day. Because first of all, I'm biased because I'm a huge Edge fan, and I've always hated John Cena. And if it wasn't for like Edge, it could have been even worse with Cena. So I'm a huge Edge mark. Even though like Judgment Day has been kind of cringe these last couple of weeks, I think they can still get this out of the doldrum that it's in, like stop the long promos and stuff and get to more of the dark side and the mind games and beating up your opponents or anybody that might be in your way. Beat them up first before you get into any match. Preemptive strikes, mind games like cerebral assassin type shit, and ultimate opportunist, of course, along with a little bit of supernatural because he's already touched about how like the brood and the ministry. So you can like kind of say like, oh, maybe Edge has inherited some of like Gangrel's supernatural powers, and he's always had that dormant, which he's kind of talked about. And then he kind of gained some powers through whatever rituals and stuff that the Ministry of Darkness. Remember, you had to do like rituals to get in and whatnot. Um, and now that the Undertaker's retired, maybe some more of that. Like it almost perfectly coincides with where Undertaker's now calling himself Mark, and he's going in the Hall of Fame, and I'm Mark Calloway. So that power, that supernatural power that has existed in the WWE since like 1991, um, is there. And then there's that Bray Wyatt. We know that his power went to Alexa before Bray even left. The weird ass, stupid ass WrestleMania ending with Alexa Bliss costing Bray Wyatt. Like, so now, like, we know that Alexa has Bray Wyatt's supernatural powers dormant inside of him, and Edge has like the Gangrel, Undertaker's supernatural powers within him. So I use that. So here's the story of Judgment Day. So we know that in real life they're still on this recruiting thing, and we don't know who they're going to recruit. And I am gonna have to add who if they add somebody that I haven't added, that they're gonna have to be added as well. So I might have to make some changes going forward with the Judgment Day, even though we're on 2023 already. Depending on who they recruit, because we don't know who it's gonna be. It could be a T-Bar, it could be Von Wagner from NXT. Like, it could be anybody. So I might have to add some more people, but remember what I was saying about all that supernatural stuff. So it went to a little side story here first. I had Alexa. She wasn't making a ton of appearances, but was on the Raw roster, kind of like real life. But she was the evil version. Um, but then when she in real life, I think 3 weeks ago now, made her return, she was like the old Alexa Bliss, or at least like a normal person, not supernatural. And so then I changed her to like her old music, and to be she was already a face, because I had her as a face, even though it was like the evil is mine version. Um she I changed it totally to like the different entrance, the different Alexa Bliss, because now I have that from the last update and with the old music. And she had this little mini rivalry with Bianca where like she lost to Bianca, and then Alexa didn't want to shake Bianca's hand. And then that changed like 3 weeks. Fast forward 3 weeks, and Alexa's like full blown heel again. So I gave her back the original Evil is Mine look with the Evil is Mine music. And then, like, coming out of that Bianca feud where Alexa did lose, but she turned evil, like, she did beat up Bianca a lot. Coming out of that, she had a match against Asuka on Raw, and pretty much Alexa got soundly beaten by Asuka. And it gave me the little cutscene where, like, Alexa gets up after the match and like rolls out of the ring, shakes her head. Like, the announcers are, "Oh, she looks pretty devastated with this one. She really thought she was gonna win this one," or something along those lines. So that sparked in my mind that, all right, Alexa. I tried to make Alexa normal. She instantly like turned heel on Bianca, and then now she's like lost again. She's lost. And what's Edge's whole thing? He wants to find the lost sheep, which makes me like, I think in real life it's gonna be like T-Bar. Because like T-Bar, who the hell fuck else is more lost on the main roster than T-Bar? I mean, you could say Mace, but we already know Mace and Mansoor are gonna be with Max Dupree as Maximum Male Models, Triple M. Um but yeah, like, it's gonna be like T-Bar is gonna join Judgment Day in real life. Like, the Edge is looking for the lost souls. But I didn't go that route. Like, but I did bring back Dominic Dijak, Dominic Dijakovic instead of T-Bar. But anyway, Alexa was lost, and Edge is looking for the lost souls. So plus, Edge knows that she has the Bray Wyatt supernatural power dormant in her. So I mean, Edge is the master manipulator. Upon he's always shown that. Go back to like the Vicky Guerrero stuff, as SmackDown GM. So Edge manipulated Alexa into joining. Now he has her power along his, and she just was like, all right, because she was down on her luck on at the bottom of the barrel and evil as hell, so she wanted in, um, which then gave Edge then enacted Plan B, or like the second step, not Plan B, but like step two of his master plan. So Plan one was he saw Alexa down on her luck, and he knew the power that she held within him. So Edge brought in Alexa. Then he brings in Tommaso Ciampa, basically guaranteeing all the power and glory in the world to Ciampa. And he couldn't guarantee Ciampa um, the WWE title right away because they had already heard that um, all the titles were going to be unified at Survivor Series. But Edge guaranteed Tommaso Ciampa, if you join, I guarantee you will be the unified Intercontinental Champion and the number 2 most powerful man right behind me. So Tommaso joined because Tommaso's thing has always been doing whatever it takes to get ahead, by any means necessary. So, and Edge knew that, so he knew that he could get another loyal soldier just by offering the power, but also knowing that Ciampa is a badass. So now you've got Edge, Rhea, Edge, and then the 2 angels. What are their names? The angels of something. I'll have to remember at a point, but so you got Edge, and then Rhea and Damon as the angels, and then you've got Tommaso as the second in charge, and you've got Alexa, um, with her dark powers now joined, willingly. Like, so there's only one more member to come. So by beating him up and caught and like harassing him and backstage assaults with Ciampa, um, Priest, and Edge, um, they got well, they didn't get him to join. They beat him up, abducted, and with all the supernatural powers dormant within Edge and Alexa Bliss, they once they got Finn Balor locked into like whatever basement or wherever they took him, um, Alexa and Edge unlocked the demon and unlocked it so that the demon took over Finn completely. So Finn Balor is now heel and always the demon and is basically a slave to the Judgment Day, which we've already seen once recently where there was a battle royal that Edge was put in along with Damon and um, the demon Finn Balor. And the demon kind of went rogue in that match, kind of like the demon Finn Balor is basically a berserker, like just attacks anybody in sight. And seeing that technically the match was every man for himself, like the demon Finn Balor just went crazy, eliminated Edge and Damian Priest, and then right after the match, Edge beat the crap out of the demon in backstage, and the next night so that was on SmackDown. So then on Raw, you'll understand why they're all on SmackDown in a moment. But then on Raw, they made sure to test the Demon's loyalties. So accompanied by Edge, Rhea, Edge, Alexa, because Alexa is kind of the one. Her like duty to the cause is to be the handler for the Demon Balor. So Alexa Bliss is like the main handler of the demon, which is their slave, and so it was Damian Priest, Alexa, and Edge accompanying Demon Balor against AJ recently, to make sure they've got the demon under control. And who knows if they do or not, but like I said, the bloodlust, the berserker, and the Demon Balor's just got bloodlust and berserker mentalities right now. So anybody in front of him, he's gonna fuck up. Um, so they don't know if he's loyal or not, or if he's just a berserker. Nobody knows. But they have him, and then the crown jewel at the end of this all, the new women's world champion with the big gold belt, Bailey. So I figured that one was a little bit of a reach, and but I knew Bailey was coming back at some point. We don't know when in real life from her knee injury, but like I said, time had passed, and I got to like Clash of the Castle. I brought Bailey back, um, and it just seems like the next step. Like she went from the lovable with the inflatable balloon guys and Izzy and all that childish stuff to like turning heel with this role model stuff. And then the next step would be like, oh, Bailey, like, do you really like this would be Edge talking to Bailey behind the scenes. He would be like, Bailey, do you really think like you've gone as far as as you deserve and that you're good enough to be? Do you really think that you're the best out of the four horsewomen? Because if you look at a lot of people might think of you as the worst of the four horsewomen. Look how many titles Charlotte has. Look at the things that Big Time Bex has done. And look at how popular and a megastar that Sasha Banks is. Where does that leave you, Bailey? Where has that gotten you? Where you probably are the best one out of the four. But what has it gotten you? So that's kind of the pitch that Edge would have given Bailey behind the scenes. Again, promising her power, kind of the same as Tommaso Ciampa, but this time she does get to be the number one. She gets to be the number one woman in the entire WWE. So this is all Edge's grand plan. So he assembles this group together, which is just enough to, if everything goes right, they could hold all the gold, all the unified gold in the entire company could be in the Judgment Day. And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly where we're at right now. That happened at Survivor Series. Like I said, at Survivor Series, all the titles were unified, and Edge masterfully made sure that he was in all at least champion coming into the night, so that either like basically made sure that they would be in every single title opportunity that night. And they were, and it worked. Somehow they actually had a clean sweep from beginning to end. Um, Beginning with Bailey, the SmackDown. So Bailey won the SmackDown title before she joined the Judgment Day, and then Edge got her to join against a face at now face Becky, who Becky turned face when Bailey and the other girls, Alexa and Rhea, were getting under her skin, and then they were like, they were granted a intergender match where Damon Priest came and teamed with Bailey. Oh wait, no, I think it was just Rhea at the time, and against Seth and Becky, and they started beating the crap. Both of them, Rhea and Damien, were beating up Seth right in front of like Becky because they had already like taken out Becky. So like that little mini feud turned Becky, Seth, and KO because KO came to help Seth at a point. That turned all three of those people face because I knew I was gonna need some faces to fight this mega heel faction in the future. So Becky and Seth and KO are face. But yeah, Survivor Series started with Bailey just demolishing and like record time. Bailey beat Becky for the unified title, which is now the world title, the big gold belt, and Edge ended the night beating Roman Reigns for the unified WWE title. Now they are now converted over to the Winged Eagle. So it was pretty crazy. Basically, Edge had a whole like once he got into these title matches and like all the game planning and master planning, I meant to say is, um, he was taking out people left and right in the middle of matches, after matches, backstage, moving over to SmackDown, like because like Tommaso Ciampa had to fight Drew Gulak because Drew Gulak had won the Intercontinental title from Ricochet and then held on to it for like over 100 days. But he ended up losing it to Tommaso Ciampa, who was starting to torment him for like a month leading up to Survivor Series. Um, and like Ciampa beat him, Gulak for the Unifieds, and then Damian Priest and their slave, the Demon Balor, won the tag titles from KO and Seth, who actually won at Clash at the Castle, I think. There was a four-way match with the Usos, New Day, Arcade Bro, and Seth and KO, a ladder match, and Seth and KO won that match. But yeah, so they KO and Seth lost the titles to Demon Balor and Damian Priest. Like I said, Becky had already lost the unification match to Bayley. Coming into this night, Rhea Ripley and Alexa Bliss were already women's champions, like women's tag team champions. Like I said, I was already planning on them beating Sasha and Naomi at Clash at the Castle, and then the news came out that Naomi and Sasha might not even come back. So Rhea Ripley and Alexa successfully defended at Survivor Series against the newly formed team of Doudrop and Kaylee Ray. Kaylee Ray got called up to Raw, and she feuded with Doudrop and Nikki Ash, leading to a triple threat match at Clash at the Castle, where Nikki Ash came out as Nikki Cross, like ditched the superhero gimmick, and won a triple threat match. And seemingly that triple threat match, unbeknownst to us, but known to the competitors in the match, it was to decide who's the leader of this new faction of three Scottish lasses was going to be going forward. So Nikki Cross won that match and is now the leader of the Nation, they're called, representing Scotland, of course. And they kind of went on a tear, leading to the people that Alexa Bliss and Rhea had to defend against was Doudrop and Kaylee Ray. Of course, those two are the tag team since Nikki Cross won that triple threat match. She gets to be the singles competitor out of the trio, and then the other two get to be in the tag division. And that's kind of how I'm trying to set things up. Like I've got Absolution has reformed. Mandy Rose and Tiffany Stratton got called up from NXT to join with Sonya Deville. And I had Mandy and Sonya be the tag team and Tiffany Stratton the singles out of there. And then over on SmackDown, I have the Queens stable. It's Charlotte, of course, the singles wrestler, and then Natalya and Shayna Baszler are the tag team. So I've been trying to build up the tag team division in the women's, and definitely it's going well. So I'm already almost 45 minutes into this. We haven't even started the look through all of the people. So let's get that going right now. Although, just give me 1 minute. But yeah, we're just going to go through everybody. It's going to be pretty crazy. And we're going to start with AJ Styles. All right, just give me 1 second. Yeah, again, we're just starting 2023. We're in the first week of January 2023. You can find all the streams on this channel. Kyle is wonderful. I don't have a set streaming schedule right now. I'm just trying to stream as much as possible, which has been an insane amount in this last month of May. All right, yeah, let's get to this. So let's start with the Raw roster. So, like I said, I've got everybody in the game from the main roster down to NXT down to the Performance Center. There unfortunately isn't enough slots for characters for me to do. What do you call it? There's not enough slots for me to do NXT UK, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would have that as well, and it would be the minor leagues to the minor leagues. If you're a baseball fan in America, NXT UK is basically the double A promotion, and then NXT is the triple A promotion, and Raw and SmackDown are the major league rosters, the League and the American League. Um, and that's it right now. I've at a point NXT was thinking about branching out to NXT Japan, NXT South America, NXT Germany. Uh, that would have been pretty cool. Although a lot of people say that's just WWE trying to kill the indie market in every market possible. But at the same time, I'm a guy that likes when everybody's under one umbrella, even if that umbrella sucks. But I like how you could someone might go from like NXT India to NXT Germany to NXT UK to NXT to SmackDown. You know, that'd be a crazy 5, 6 year journey that could have happened. All right, I'm sidetracked, and I don't want to. I hope this isn't a 2 hour video, but it's looking like it. Let's start with AJ Styles here. So AJ Styles, of course. So like when I started the universe, everything was like um exactly real life. So all the current feuds coming into, I was 1 week away from WrestleMania Backlash when I started this. So of course AJ was feuding with Edge and the Judgment Day. AJ basically lost that feud big time. I'm a huge AJ Styles fan, but I'm also a huge Edge fan, and I already had this idea in my mind of trying my best to make the Judgment Day just like take over, because I'm tired of the bloodline storyline overall in real life. Because I could have just had like the blood, like called up Solo Sikoa and had him win the unified intercontinental title, and then like maybe before Naomi left, I would have brought in like maybe Naomi and Tamina, and as you'll see later, I've also got The Rock's daughter, who's in the Performance Center. She's in our universe mode. They could have had like her team with Tamina for the tag titles, and then Naomi wins the unified women's titles. That's something I could have done, and maybe it was more likely to happen. Although now we know like Naomi's gone, Tamina's never going to be a title holder again, and Simone Johnson like isn't ready for that kind of stuff. And really, I don't know if Solo Sikoa is either. So I went the route of the Judgment Day. Now, what I do have it on the hardest difficulty possible, but unfortunately, I still win like 98% of the time. That those odds go down when it's like a triple threat or a four-way, or they go down even further when it's like a ladder match and stuff like that. Like both Money in the Bank winners were a computer, which has me thinking it could be a computer. Um, what do you call it? That wins the Royal Rumble. Now I don't know exactly how the Royal Rumble even gets set up, but I think I'm just gonna choose whoever I think I want to win or who should win, and then only use that guy and have the computers control the other 29. And not use like, oh, now I got tossed out. Now let me pick this guy, you know. So I'll be doing a lot of watching, but I will be interested because it really impacts what we do, whoever wins that rumble. Um, unless I just have them just, like, if it's Reggie that wins the rumble, am I really gonna like try and build up Reggie and like pick Reggie? I guess I should, otherwise it's not gonna be much of a match. So I would like pick Reggie and he would fight like a 99 overpowered Edge, and I would try my best, I guess. But man, but anyway, not let's try not to make this 2 hours. AJ Styles lost all those matches to Edge. Um, then he was kind of like still in the upper mid card. Like Edge kind of like stopped worrying about AJ Styles at a point. because Edge then moved on to the recruiting and the master plan that I've already talked about. But AJ, like I said, AJ was involved in the number one contenders match for SummerSlam, that crazy tag match that saw him tag teaming with Lashley. They were unsuccessful in that match, and AJ went from there to feud. Once Miz lost Miz held the WWE title for one whole day, and after that, AJ Styles feuded with Miz for a month or so. AJ won that feud, of course. I'm trying to think. Just in the last Raw, I think AJ did something cool. I think AJ got a big win anyway. I can't quite remember, but AJ's right there in the upper mid card. But he couldn't beat the Judgment Day, and he lost all. He doesn't have any allies. Like I said, Demon Balor got taken over as a slave to the Judgment Day, and in our universe, Liv Morgan and AJ Styles never hooked up. Um, KO and Seth are KO, Seth, and Bobby are his face, like the other main faces on his brand. So those would be the kind of guys he might team up with, and we've seen him team with Lashley before. So could be tag teams in his future, but he's gonna want to try and get back at the Judgment Day at a point. Right now, there's been no coalition to fight the Judgment Day. The Judgment Day is just taking over WWE as a whole. But as you'll see, there are multiple. I am a fan of stables, and I like faction warfare. So I have been building up. There is a lot of stables building up, and AJ Styles has not found himself with any allies. So that'll be interesting to see where that goes, how that goes going forward. Oh, the match I already talked about the match he just had. So AJ Styles just lost to the Demon Balor in a really good, like it was like a 4.5-star match. Demon Balor's a what do you call it? A slave for Judgment Day. So Akira Tozawa, I already told you his biggest achievement in our universe mode, which was beating WWE champion Miz, but that's because Roman Reigns hit Miz with a steel chair, and which set up the Miz losing the title in only one day title reign the Roman later that same night, and then the next week Akira got killed by the Miz. Uh, he is set up to be a tag team with Reggie, but we haven't seen them very much. But when we do, they get killed. Angelo Dawkins, he of course been nothing but tag teams for the most part. I can't remember any other matches. Maybe I now have it set up for that so that there's more random triple threat, four way. I mean fatal four way, like 5 way, 6 ways. So he has been in a couple of those, but hasn't won any of them. Biggest highlight, he wasn't. So anybody that wasn't in a unified title match at Survivor Series, they had a. It was all the other matches, and there was 8 of them total. They were all in traditional elimination Survivor Series matches. Montes Ford and Angelo Dawkins teamed with RK Bro, but they lost to the Dream Team of the Usos and New Day. And unfortunately for Angelo Dawkins, he was the first one eliminated in that match. Um, and their team ended up losing probably because of that. Now you've got 3-on-4, and the 4 is the Usos and Usos. I mean Usos and New Day. Apollo Crews. So Apollo Crews, he basically didn't get any like singles matches for months. He's set up to be a tag team with Commander Aziz. The biggest highlight he had until recently was Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz beat RK Bro when RK Bro was going crazy on a crazy winning streak, but it was a tornado tag match. So they had fought Apollo Crews and Aziz fought RK Bro the week before, and RK Bro beat them, but they challenged them again, but this time to a tornado tag match. And Commander Aziz got the pin on Riddle. So that the next week, Apollo Crews and Aziz got a tag team title match against RK Bro, but they lost. So they kind of went into hiding from that point on um, until after Survivor Series. So this is recently. Survivor Series happened about a month ago, our time. So we're in like January 1st of 2023. Right after Survivor Series, Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz recruited Omos, who had kind of been out in the wilderness doing nothing, and and he also needed allies, as you'll see when I talk about them later on. So Omos reverted back to being a heel after he had turned face by beating Roman and ditching MVP. Omos is back to being heel this time. Part of they call themselves the Nigerian Militia. I apologize if that's offensive to anybody. I don't know, like, cause if like that's a wrong thing. Like, I don't know if there's Nigerian militias are a problem or anything. So if it is, let me know, and I can definitely try and find a different name for them. I just try to go off of like um in in the game they have like things they'll say, and like the militia now coming down the aisle, the militia is one of those things. So I probably should have saved the nation for them, and but I had already given that to the Scottish last group with Kaylee Ray, Dewdrop, and Nikki Cross. So again, let me know if the Nigerian militia is a bad name, and I can look for another one. But anyway, Apollo Crews is going to be the leader and the singles wrestler out of those three. And that now means look out for the new tag team of Omos and Commander Aziz, probably coming in at a combined weight of 750 pounds. And if they stood on top of each other, it's definitely 14 feet. So look out for that new tag team in the division. Apollo Crews finding himself some better backup than Commander Aziz. But Commander Aziz is even going to be propped up by having Omos next to him. So a new good heel trio on Raw. Bobby Lashley, he had a long feud with Omos, of course, because we were trying to make everything like real life. Lashley, let me think. I think he. I think that feud kind of ended 50-50, to be honest. And then the feud kind of stopped when Omos won Money in the Bank. So Lashley was in that match. It was only Raw. So the way it was set up this time, which it'll be different the next time, now that everything's unified. But I had 8 of the best singles wrestlers, male wrestlers from Raw competing in the males Money in the Bank, and then 8 SmackDown women. Which of course I had to call some. Wait, I didn't. Did I have to call people up yet? Because I still had Naomi and Sasha at the time. So I think it was basically everybody except Ronda, who was champion, was in Money in the Bank. Well, I had Charlotte take her sabbatical because I had to do it late. It was like later than real life, but as we know now, Charlotte's out taking like a 2-month break. So anyway, back to Lashley. Lashley lost that number one contenders tag match of mixed teams with AJ as his partner. He lost that match. Lashley had also lost before that at Survivor Series. Lashley lost a 4-way match for the U.S. title. So he had been kind of down on his luck. And it was about to get worse because MVP reformed. Now that MVP had also got tossed aside by Omos. So MVP had been tossed aside twice in a year's span. by two different people. So he finally took up MVP finally took up Cedric on his offer, but only if Cedric and Shelton would be the lackeys to the newly called up and to the newly formed Hurt Business, Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. So the Hurt Business is back on Raw. It's heel. There's four people. Cedric and um, Shelton are the tag team. Trick Williams is in the Intercontinental Division, and Carmelo Hayes is in the WWE Championship Division. And they feuded with Bobby Lashley, who then got unexpected help from Omos, and that led to a Survivor Series match where Bobby Lashley, Omos, AJ Styles, and I think Cameron Grimes was their tag partner. Now that Cameron Grimes is on Raw, and they lost to the Hurt Business, and Bobby Lashley has lost to I think Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams, albeit with shenanigans and cheating. I think he lost to both of them. So Lashley hasn't had a great 2022, but you never know. He could go on a run. He could win the Royal Rumble and win the title at WrestleMania. So Lashley's always out there. That Omos partnership was short lived because Omos, like I said, quickly after that went to join this Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz and turn heel again. So Lashley, I guess I was saying AJ doesn't really have allies, but AJ does have an ally in Bobby Lashley. They've had each other's back multiple times. And I don't really see KO and Seth helping them out as much, as far as like those are the four big faces on Raw now that Cody's over on SmackDown. Um, so Lashley and AJ don't have anybody else to watch their back, but they have each other's back a little bit. And I got the game on, so I'm gonna write that right now. Or I mean, set it level 3 ally, Bobby Lashley and AJ Styles. All right, and so yeah, you never know if Lashley hasn't had the greatest of times, but you never know when he's gonna start winning some good matches. Next on the list is Cedric. I kind of just touched on it. Um, I think at a point before the Hurt Business reformed, him and Shelton had a little bit mini feud with RK Bro, but that was definitely one sided. That was during RK Bro. Just RK Bro just basically beat all seven teams on Raw and then beat the Usos, and we're just flying high. So, but it was an actual feud where they were like having storylines and stuff. But Cedric and Shelton weren't able to win. But now that Cedric and Shelton have MVP back on their side, along with Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes, Cedric has been winning a lot more matches, including I think a couple fatal four ways and stuff like that, and including that big Survivor Series win I was talking about over Lashley, Omos, AJ, and Cameron Grimes. Chad Gable, I'm a huge Chad Gable mark. I'm a huge mark for Alpha Academy. Just unfortunately, they haven't been in a part of the universe mode that often. I would like to get him in there, but contrary to what a lot of people think, it's just WWE doesn't use them, but they do have a lot of tag teams. I'm pretty sure, like I did make some call ups and stuff, but I'm pretty sure I have like 16 at least between Raw and SmackDown tag teams, which is like 32 people. So some of these tag teams haven't been getting on as much, but hopefully it'll start being a good rotation and we don't fall into the trap like we have in real life where we've seen how many Alpha Academy and um, Street Profits and Arcade Bro variations. And don't get me started on as good as the rivalry is. How many more Usos versus New Day matches do we need? So um, there's about 16 tag teams in the division, and again, all the belts are unified, so the champion can pick between any of the 16. I think it might even be 17. So there's a champion, and then there's 8 and 8 on each side, or it could change depending on which brand has the champion. But you know what I mean. But yeah, all of that to say, Chad Gable hasn't really done much, and I hope to see more from him soon. I've already pretty much said Ciampa's story. Um, it was so he started our universe like real life, kind of feuding with Mustafa Ali, which they pretty much dropped that storyline ever since in real life. But he beat up Mustafa Ali, um, was beating up everybody pretty much, and end up winning the. It might have been a triple threat or a fatal four way, or maybe it was just one on one. But Ciampa won the U.S. title from um, Austin Theory, who it's been weird because I love Austin Theory, and I love what they're doing with him and all that stuff, but I really haven't had much for Austin Theory. Which did I skip Austin Theory? Or wait, no, his name's just Theory now. My bad. Um, but yeah, Ciampa beat Theory for the U.S. title. Um, he won a fatal four way just before everybody joined Judgment Day. I think it was at SummerSlam, but it might have been Money in the Bank. Um, It was Tommaso Ciampa, regular Finn Balor, Bobby Lashley, and Damian Priest for the U.S. title. Ciampa came in as champion. There was only two men standing at the end of that match, and that was Priest and Ciampa. Priest had taken out Finn Balor, and Ciampa had taken out Lashley, or like something like that. And Ciampa got the win, and Priest like didn't break it up. So that was like kind of the formation to show you right there that Ciampa is about to join. And it was only like 2 weeks later that they had abducted Finn Balor and forced him to join as the Demon against his will, or the Demon took him over. So um, from there, Ciampa has been dominant. He's got all the backing in the world. He doesn't have to look behind him at all. He only has to look straight forward and to demolishing whoever they put in front of him. At Survivor Series, he unified the Intercontinental and U.S. title by beating over 100 days champion Drew Gulak, who had been beating everybody put in front of him, albeit a pretty weak mid card on SmackDown. He hadn't fought any of the upper card guys. It's not like Gulak was beating Walter and Sheamus and people like that. It was Madcap Moss and Baron Corbin and Ricochet. Like he beat Ricochet for the title, which is big, but he had come into that match by beating like Shanky, Jinder Mahal, um, which I could see Drew Gulak getting fired in the next month, real life. So I'm glad I got because he deserves, especially when he was with Daniel Bryan and stuff, to have like a title reign that wasn't just I don't know. But anyway, Ciampa is still Intercontinental Champion. He's the second in command behind Edge. I don't know where exactly that puts him on the pecking order because, of course, Edge's Angels of Destruction or Judgment or whatever he called them are Damian Priest and Rhea. But the number two man in singles wrestling in all of WWE is Ciampa right now, and he has 6 other people, I think it is, maybe even 7 to watch his back. Yeah, it's 6 other people. So Ciampa, Intercontinental Champion, unified with U.S. title. Cody Rhodes, like I said, has moved over to SmackDown by now. Um, let's see, he beat Seth in his feud. He won all the matches against Seth, and then he went into. So I kind of basically said his whole story already, but just to reiterate, um, he found himself in the Survivor Series or the SummerSlam main event with a triple threat match for the WWE title with the Miz involved and Reigns as champion. And Cody and Reigns went at each other crazy in that match, but Miz ended up winning the title. And then after all the craziness with Omos winning the Universal title and Roman winning the WWE title back, now the WWE title was on SmackDown, which sent Cody over to SmackDown. One thing I haven't touched about, which I should have in like the when I was talking about like the big news stories, is Drew McIntyre inexplicably turned heel at the Clash at the Castle main event, where he walked out without ever like trying to fight Roman Reigns for the title. Drew McIntyre turned his back on his entire country and turned heel. And basically, since that moment, Drew McIntyre has targeted Cody Rhodes. Right before Drew turned heel, it was Cody Rhodes versus Drew, face versus face, in a number one contenders match to see who went on to the main event of Clash at the Castle. And Roman Reigns interfered in that match, costing Cody the match and getting Drew into the title match. We have no idea if Roman knew what he was doing by putting by knowing that there's no way that Roman could have known that Drew was going to turn heel and turn his back on his entire country by not fighting in that match and getting counted out on purpose. Um, I'm just guessing Roman knew that Cody had his number in the Survivor Series triple threat match involving The Miz. And that's the whole reason Miz even had an opportunity to win the title that night to begin with, is because Cody was really putting it to Roman. So in this number one contendership match, Roman made sure it was the guy that he had already beaten twice that year, Drew McIntyre, and then Roman didn't even have to fight him. So Cody then, after Clash at the Castle, um, hold on, which I think at Clash at the Castle, I think Cody teamed up with fellow second generation from WCW legends in Braun Breaker, who got called up to the SmackDown roster. So Cody and Braun Breaker are allies on SmackDown, and they teamed up at Clash at the Castle since Cody didn't get the title match. I can't remember who they fought, but they won their match. I'm pretty sure they won. Or they might have had to fight Butch and oh, now I remember. It was a six-man tag match at Clash of the Castle. Cody Rhodes teaming with um like I said, two sons of WCW legends, Cody Rhodes and Braun Breaker, teaming up with WCW legend and also royalty at Clash at the Castle, King Booker, and an amazing trios tag team. And they fought Butch, Ridge, and Sheamus. And I think Booker T or King Booker was the one that got the win. So that was a pretty crazy match. Cody went from there to he's been feuding with Roman ever, or not Roman, excuse me, Drew McIntyre ever since. So we're not exactly clear on Drew McIntyre's motivations, because it's like completely inexplicable to walk out of a title match like that, because like the whole goal is to be champion. But now his goal seems to be taking out Cody Rhodes. And he is also Drew McIntyre also aligned himself with Ridge Holland, um, Sheamus, and Butch. I have to go to the bathroom real quick. I apologize. That's live TV for you, because I already know it's going to take me a lot longer to get through this. So I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. Should be able to get through the rest of the video now, though. All right, where were we? So yeah, Cody, he's feuding with Drew, and continues to this day. They had a Survivor Series match. I think Drew's team won that. So of course it was Drew, Sheamus, Butch, and Ridge, and they call themselves the Cleaners. But yeah, Cody wants the WWE title. It's now on Edge. Cody's on SmackDown, and he's still feuding with. Oops, sorry about that. Definitely clicked the wrong button. All right, here we go. All right, so I pretty much already said what Commander Aziz has been up to. Same as Apollo Crews, but yeah, now look out for the new tag team of Commander Aziz and Omos, part of the Nigerian militia. Um, they're definitely a team to be feared, and I'm excited to see what they do going forward. A good tag team. Damian Priest, I pretty much told his whole story as well. He helped Tommaso Ciampa retain the U.S. title, and then he helped with beating up and kidnapping Finn Balor to force him to being the Demon. And now he's tag team champion with the Demon Finn Balor, their slave, um, and has been helping out Edge along the way. So Priest has. I've pretty much said everything already. Dolph, I mean, just like some of the other tag team guys, doesn't really get on the show that much. There's a lot of tag teams, and I mean, I've got all the shows set up that have 9 matches each, and I still don't have enough for all these tag teams. Um, which means, yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I think Dolph has probably had like 4 matches total, and it's 2023 already. And I'm pretty sure Dominic Mysterio has had more matches than, unfortunately, more matches than Dolph. Just by being in tag teams with Ray. Most notable thing that happened was he got jumped by Legado del Fantasma in an effort to draw Ray out, which set up a really great Lucha Libre classic match for the UK crowd over at Clash at the Castle. It was Santos Escobar versus Rey Mysterio, and then later the next month at Survivor Series, that set up a really good Lucha Libre, probably one of the best elimination Survivor Series matches of the night. It was Legado del Fantasma, which Santos Escobar, Joaquin Wilde, and Raul Mendoza added Javier Bernal to their roster full time, not just for this match. And they fought against the Mysterios and Los Lotharios, who are now face because they turned face when Legado del Fantasma was attacking them when they made their SmackDown debut. But that match is crazy. Try and go find that on the streams if you can. It's like 45 minutes long. Rey Mysterio probably kicked out of like 10 different things that would have put anyone else out, but couldn't win in the end. Again, I pretty much told you all of Edge's story since he's basically the main character of this um, universe mode so far. Everything he's done has been masterfully planned. He won his feud against AJ. He got all the people he wanted into the Judgment Day. The Judgment Day now holds all the unified gold. They're allowed to go to Raw or SmackDown, and basically they hold all the power in the world because if management or Vince McMahon or whoever wants to tell Edge that they have to do something, Edge can say, well, I'll just take every single freaking title you have and walk out the door with it and take it to AEW or whatever, you know. Um, So Edge has all the power in the world right now. It'll be interesting to see who might take the either A, who takes the WWE, the unified WWE title from Edge, and B, what kind of coalition forms to eventually oppose the Judgment Day, because right now the Judgment Day looks unstoppable and they're taking out threats before they even become threats at this point, if you know what I mean, which has been their whole game plan. That's basically Edge's plan since the beginning, is before they even become the threat, before they even know that they're targeting me, I've already taken them out, kind of deal. Now that he's gotten all his things together, the only chink in the armor that Edge has right now is Finn Balor is not. Um, Finn Balor is a slave. The demon has taken over Finn Balor thanks to Alexa Bliss and Edge and their supernatural powers that they've inherited from the Undertaker, Bray Wyatt, and even a little bit of Gangrel. But that's the only chink in the Judgment Day's armor right now. They're unstoppable. Otherwise, they control everything. The only chink in the armor is that the demon, if the real Finn Balor can fight the demon, well then there's a chink in the armor. But until that happens, which we saw it happen a little bit a couple weeks ago on SmackDown in that battle royal I was talking about, but it seems like Edge just beat the crap out of him, and with Alexa's help and stuff, got him back under control. Ezekiel, I haven't had much storylines for him. I didn't even really have him feud with KO, really. But I do have a freaking great plan for him at WrestleMania, which, if you're watching this, however, hour and a half deep into the video, I'll just let you know right now, it's going to be Ezekiel and Elias versus KO and Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, which should be a great match to play. And the only reason that wouldn't be that match is if Ezekiel, KO, or Seth Rollins wins the Royal Rumble. Or I guess any titles until then. But if they win the tag titles, I guess it could be Elias and Ezekiel for the tag titles. And I guess I could just leave them as a tag team from that point forward. So after this WrestleMania, we'll have the tag team of Elias and Ezekiel up until the point of, remember, everything I do is going to be influenced by what WWE does in real life as well. So if they turn Ezekiel back to Elias, well, then I'll get rid of that tag team and it'll just be Elias. Excuse me. Finn Balor, I've told you his whole story. He's currently tag team champion, unified tag team champion with Damian Priest, part of an unwilling slave for the Judgment Day, and permanently the demon. The demon has completely taken over. Gable Steveson, I'll probably have him debut at the WrestleMania coming up. There's a lot of bad things that if you look up his time in college that I'm not a big fan of. But as you can see, they continuously make sure it's scrubbed out of Wikipedia. But if you search on Google, you can find what I'm talking about. But I'm not a big fan of what he did or what he's been accused of doing, or however you want to put it. But I'll add him anyway, because at that point, like, why do I have the Usos in the game? Like, Jimmy is had multiple DUIs to the point where he's gonna kill someone like Sonny did. But anyway, and on that note, I've yet to debut Lacey Evans, but that's mainly because I'm still not sure what the frick WWE's doing with Lacey Evans. She looked like she was a sympathetic new baby face for SmackDown, and then they were like, "Oh, please or then they were like, "Oh, show the proper respect to Lacey Evans as she comes out," which was heelish. And then the next week she was on Raw, and it seemed like she was going to be a heel on Raw, but then she came out and she just acted like a face. So between all that confusion, I and the fact that I'm not a fan of Lacey Evans' personal, uh, the person inside the character, but I haven't debuted yet because I'm so confused as if is she a face? Is she gonna be on Raw? Is she gonna be on SmackDown? Is she for the troops? Is she gonna come out and say I hate the troops next? Like I don't know what. And then where like is she gonna join the Judgment Day? Like that would be crazy, huh? KO. The game doesn't. Whenever I leave it up to random to select random matches, the game does not like to select KO. I've noticed, which is a shame. I'm a big KO fan. Um, I pretty much told you his whole story. He turned face along with Rollins and Becky Lynch when they had a mini feud with the Judgment Day, which turned them de facto by proxy. I mean, um, turned KO, Seth, and Becky face, and they remain face, but they still kind of like they're tweeners, you know, like the Bloodline. Excuse me, like the Bloodline are. So the Miz found himself with yet another. Oh no, I got the hiccups. Miz found himself with another title reign. This time it's winning the um, SummerSlam main event. But like I said, I pretty much told you his whole story. Um, he had a 1 day title reign, lost it to Roman the next night. Um, got his revenge against that loss that Roman caused him to have against Akira Tozawa. Then had a feud with AJ, which the Miz lost, and now the Miz has been in a feud with R-Truth, which the Miz is seemingly winning. So that's the roller coaster ride of the Miz. And I know he had some Cody matches as well that he lost. So he was like losing the Cody, but then he won this weird random tag, three-way tag match that would decide the two number one contenders for the triple threat match at SummerSlam, which the Miz won that match and then won the other match for the title, but lost to Akira Tozawa the next night and Roman Reigns for the title, and now is in a feud with R-Truth. So pretty roller coaster ride for the Miz. I could see him winning the Rumble or the next Money in the Bank and being right back in title contention. Montes Ford, just like his partner, what can I remember his name? Angelo Dawkins. Um, pretty much same boat except for remember I said Angelo Dawkins was the first one eliminated in that All Star Tag Team Survivor Series elimination match. RK Bro, Street Profits versus Usos and New Day. Montez Ford stayed a lot longer in the match, at least 10 minutes longer than Angelo Dawkins. But then I think was the next one eliminated. Although maybe I think maybe Jimmy Uso got eliminated before Montez in that match. Other than that, Street Profits, they lost RK Bro a lot. I think they beat the Dirty Dogs a few times, maybe Alpha Academy once. Um, but I'd like to see them feud with the new Nigerian militia and maybe the new Hurt Business. So definitely a lot of things for Street Profits to do going forward. Mustafa Ali, so I put him right there, like everybody else, like where they are in real life. So he was feuding with like Theory and Miz, and a little bit of Veer now that we know that Veer is kind of like friends with the Miz and Theory by somehow. Um, he found himself like fighting Tommaso Ciampa a lot, and I think maybe even if was like right there for the US title, but never got like a title match or anything. And most high profile match was he was part of the big, um, probably the biggest for the men, other than like bigger than the singles version was the All Star Tag Survivor Series match I just talked about. But for the men, Mustafa Ali was stuck and forced to team with Veer, Miz, and Theory for the Raw side against I think it was Solo Sikoa, Ricochet, Happy Corbin, and Braun Breaker maybe for the SmackDown side. And Raw lost that match. SmackDown won. Since then, I really haven't seen Mustafa Ali. It's been a month since Survivor Series. I haven't really seen him too much. Kind of got overshadowed by a couple call ups, including he basically got his spot taken by Cameron Grimes, who I called up. MVP, I told you his whole story. He got left hanging yet again. First it was Bobby Lashley, and then it was Omos, and went and formed the new version of the Hurt Business, which now has, of course, Shelton and Cedric, who keep trying to join. He let them join, but only as lackeys to Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes. So that's the new Hurt Business, and Montavious Porter is the manager of all three. I mean, all four. Omos, pretty eventful. I like Omos in the white tank top. I like that look better than the black tank top. Um, Omos, really eventful. He, like I said, was pretty much 50-50 with his feud with Bobby Lashley. Coming in the Money in the Bank, where they were both in the Money in the Bank, and Omos ended up winning that match. So then Omos was Money in the Bank holder, and like I said, he challenged Roman Reigns. Next, he gave Roman Reigns a week's notice, so it was nothing shady. Omos left MVP in the back, and straight up beat Roman Reigns for the Universal title to end the 600 and almost 700-day reign of Roman Reigns as Universal Champion. Was ended by Omos. One-on-one, clean, no bells, no whistles, clean as a whistle. Omos beat Roman Reigns for the Universal title, bringing it to Raw, putting it the red strap version, and making himself face in the process. Fast forward a little bit further, and Edge's grand plan was culminated at Survivor Series in the main event. Wait, no. It wasn't there. There was that Clash at the Castle. So at Clash at the Castle, Omos had to defend against Edge, and lost that match after like weeks of getting backstage assaults by the rest of Judgment Day and stuff. They would basically Judgment Day would always throw the Demon Balor out there first, the weekend Omos, but because they don't care about Finn Balor's like well-being whatsoever. So he's like the human meat shield, or however you want to look at it. Anyway, Omos had gotten beaten up and was getting mind games, and Edge just wrestled a master class of like leave the ring here and trip him here from outside the ring, and oh, you're coming back in the ring now, I'm back outside of the ring, and you're coming out, and stuff like that, and like a little bit of cheating here and there. And Edge beat Omos for the Universal title. From there, Omos was feuding with the New Hurt Business. The New Hurt Business formed, and Omos found himself in that Survivor Series match, which I had already talked about, against the Hurt Business, teamed with Lashley, AJ, and Cameron Grimes, and lost that match, leading Omos to rethink his strategies and his alliances, and Omos ended up going with his Nigerian brothers over with Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz. So Omos is now in a tag team with Commander Aziz, and the stable is called the Nigerian Militia. And I'm looking forward to seeing that tag team in action. like I said, like 750 pounds combined, over 14 feet. The new skyscrapers. Otis, just like Chad Gable, I really like Otis. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to see much of Alpha Academy in the just. I think we saw him a bunch of times losing the RK Bro. Randy, I pretty much told his whole story. RK Bro went crazy. They beat everybody on Raw. Then they beat the Usos to win the Unified World Tag Team titles. Until losing them without being pinned by KO and Seth in a ladder match, also including the Usos and New Day. I don't think they ever got the rematch because the next people to fight for the titles were the Judgment Day, which was Damian Priest and Demon Finn Balor. So I don't think RK Bro ever got their tag title rematch. And now that if you had watched Raw in real life last Monday, it looks like at the very least Randy's going to be taking a little bit of time off, maybe a month or so. So I took Randy off after Survivor Series. Remember that whole star-studded RK Bro Street Profits versus Usos and New Day match I was talking about Survivor Series, and then I had after Survivor Series I had the Nigerian militia form, and they took out Randy Orton in the back, and we haven't seen Randy Orton since then. Um, I don't know when I'm gonna have Orton return. Probably for the Royal Rumble. I think in real life they're only gonna have Orton leave for like a month or so. Because I think in real life what they're gonna do is what they're planning on doing is Riddle versus Roman for the title at Money in the Bank, and then SummerSlam is gonna be Orton versus uh Roman. So Orton will be back somewhere around the beginning of July, I think, which means he'll only be out about 5 or 6 weeks in real life. So I'll probably bring Orton back for the Royal Rumble, and definitely a contender to win the Rumble, and definitely a contender to be in the coalition against Edge at a point. So there's maybe 3 of your people that could be in the coalition against the Judgment Day is Randy Orton, Riddle, Bobby Lashley, and AJ Styles. I mean, there's a good foursome right there if they end up teaming up together. But like I said, there's a lot of heel factions going on now. Reggie, like I said, they don't even have a picture for him on. Look how short this bio is too. And poor Reggie. Anyway, his biggest thing to note in the Universal title or Universe mode is at a point. Okay, so now that I think about it, Damian Priest did have the U.S. title at a point because I remember when Priest was running around with the U.S. title and he was like beating up people on Raw. He had a match against Reggie, which somehow Reggie freaking won that match, and which granted him a title match the next week, which was made into a steel cage match for the U.S. title, Reggie versus Damian Priest, where Damian Priest just absolutely destroyed Reggie. We really haven't seen him much since. We've seen him team up with R-Truth and Akira Tozawa in losing efforts. And that's about it. Rey Mysterio, I pretty much told his story when I said Dominic's. But just a quick recap, I think they lost to RK Bro at least once on RK Bro's Reign of Terror, and then Rey got drawn into a feud with Santos Escobar in a match at Clash at the Castle, which Rey lost. Then Rey was one of the most miraculous, kicking out of every finisher anybody had for him against in this Survivor Series 8-man tag match against Legado del Fantasma. Rey eventually lost that match, just like he lost the match against Santos Escobar the month before. But Rey showed a lot of heart, and think they won a big match on Raw, him and Dominic after that, riding the good momentum. But it's been a few weeks since we've seen Rey now, I think. But maybe another big match at WrestleMania. Maybe a triple threat with Escobar and someone else. Or maybe we could do an 8-man, every man for themselves. Everyone that was in that crazy Survivor Series match. See who the ultimate Lucha King is. Riddle, I just basically told you his exact same story as Orton. Um, since Orton's left, it's only been a couple of weeks since Orton's been gone in our universe mode, and Riddle's had a couple big key wins. Although Riddle did lose and got beat up in a triple, a 1-on-3 match against a newly formed Nigerian militia, which is Omos Aziz and Apollo. But yeah, Riddle is now a singles wrestler at least for the next month leading up to the Royal Rumble. And I could see him being the dark horse winner for that Rumble. Robert Roode, just like Dolph, hasn't been around that much. Crowded tag scene on Raw. Definitely need more. We need to set up for more tag matches. Our Truth, like I said, he was also teaming with Reggie and Akira Tozawa. And recently has been featured a lot because he's been in a feud with The Miz. So, our Truth, he's got one of the best entrances in the game with him rapping his song. It's pretty great entrance. So yeah, shout out to Our Truth. Fun to play as too. He's got good move set. Seth Rollins, kind of been pigeonholed into the tag division since there was so much other stuff going on um, in the main singles division, which I know Seth deserves to be in. And right now, that like I said, Seth and KO are the second ever world tag title, unified tag titles champions after RK Bro. They won those in a ladder match, so they never pinned RK Bro, and I don't think RK Bro ever got their rematch. But in the meantime, Seth Rollins and KO don't even have the titles anymore, so they're back to being. I have them both in the WWE Championship division on Raw, but they're both set up as a tag team as well, which is how they won it in the first place. They were both in the singles division, but it had them feuding with RK Bro. Um, the way I set that one up is Seth Rollins were feuding with RK Bro on Raw, and Usos were yet again feuding with New Day on SmackDown. So and since the tag titles were already unified, I just made it a 4-way ladder match at Clash at the Castle, and that's where Seth Rollins and KO won. Also, if you missed it earlier, Seth Rollins is currently a face. They returned face, they being Seth Rollins, KO, and Becky Lynch when they were getting assaulted and abused by the Judgment Day. Pretty much turned them face. They're more of the three of them are still kind of tweeners, though they haven't really changed personality wise. They're just cheered as opposed to like the evils of the Judgment Day. Shelton Benjamin, I've already told his story along with Cedric, but he's part of the new Hurt Business with Cedric, Trick Williams, and Carmelo Hayes, along with MVP as their manager. And I think he also won a like pretty big 5-way match recently too. So Shelton's been doing some good things. Theory, like I said, I'm a big fan of Theory, but I don't have a ton of room for him right now, especially with all the unified titles. Like he had lost the U.S. title already before they were unified. I have him in the WWE Championship division, but he's like ranked like 6 or 7 on the Raw roster, which again, it's a unified title, which means he's like 13, 14th ranked contender for the world title. But he's still young, and I expect they'll. I have him set up. He can tag team with the Miz at any point, since he's been doing that a lot in real life. So maybe they'll tag team it a little bit more going forward. T-Bar, I mentioned earlier, I reverted him back over to Dominic Dijakovic, and he's still heel. He's been feuding with like Veer and Zion Quinn, who I moved up to Raw. So pretty cool. Man, this is gonna be well over 2 hours because I haven't even gotten through Raw yet. Veer really hasn't been doing a whole lot, but he has been one of the top ranked in the Intercontinental division. Recently just lost a big match. I think it was the Cameron Grimes, so but it might have been someone else. I can't quite remember. But Veer had been I think I had someone else beat him because I didn't necessarily want Veer. Although that's not a bad match. If it ends up being Veer versus Ciampa for the Unified Intercontinental title, that's not a bad match at all. Alexa, I've completely told her story. Um, but just to reiterate real quick, she started out evil, tried to turn face, or was face, but that didn't last long, and pretty much immediately turned heel on Bianca, and then after that, lost badly to Asuka, putting her in a downward spiral. Got recruited backstage, behind the scenes by Edge, and has now been an integral part of the Judgment Day. She is the handler for the Demon Balor, who is their slave, and Alexa is also tag team champion currently with with Rhea Ripley. So some good stuff there for Alexa. She's currently evil as hell and tag team champion. Asuka, kind of just a bit player. I know for I think she's had at least a couple title matches, but hasn't won them. Right there in the upper mid card, or I mean the upper card of the singles division for the women, and she ends up teaming with Bianca a lot. Becky Lynch, I've already said her whole story, but just to reiterate, she was turned face with Seth Rollins and KO, and she won the title from Rhea. So Rhea was the Raw Women's Champion. Becky Lynch turned face after getting attacked and stuff by the Judgment Day and ended up beating Rhea for that title. But then when Bailey also joined the Judgment Day, the numbers game caught up to her and she lost the unified title match at Survivor Series for the new big gold belt world champion. And currently that was only a month ago, so still a face, still in top contention, kind of feuding with Bailey on and off still. Because basically the Judgment Day's whole thing is they just want to keep taking out the contenders as much as they can before like they get a title match. You know what I mean? So anytime that anybody might, they search out who's doing good and try and weaken you before any kind of title match might happen, which is a smart strategy. Bianca, just like Asuka, except I think she had a little bit more success than Asuka. She's had a couple title matches at pay-per-views and stuff, but lost the title to Rhea. I think at Hell in the Cell. I think Rhea beat Bianca for the title, and Bianca hasn't had it since, and teams with Asuka a lot. So maybe, but we haven't seen Becky. I mean, we haven't seen Bianca versus Bailey for the title yet, so that's another one that we could look out for. Carmella, I've got her back in the tag team with Queen Zelina. Yeah, they kind of broke up after WrestleMania in real life, but then they kind of got back together like a week later when Sonya Deville needed help against Bianca. We really haven't seen her with Zelina since, but I guess that kind of leaves them on good terms since they worked together since having the fallout. Dana Brooke, I've got her another tag team. So I try to like if these like my options are having Carmella like really low in the singles division, or I can have her team and Zelina be really low in the singles division, or they can be like, I guess, really low in the tag division. But at least it gives me more people in the tag division. So again, Dana instead of having Dana Brooke and Tamina in the singles division, I have them teaming up together because they kind of seem like they're on the same page in real life. I did not add the 24 title to Universe Mode. I just there's no way to have intergender matches or intergender titles. So it would have just been a secondary women's title for Raw, which I didn't want. Dewdrop, I've told her story, but to reiterate, I've teamed her up with Nikki Ash, who is now Nikki Cross again, and as well as the recently called up Kaylee Ray. Dewdrop and Kaylee Ray had a big feud, which brought Nikki Ash into it, and Dewdrop lost the triple threat match between those three, which made Nikki Cross the leader of the faction called the Nation, and Dewdrop now teams with Kaylee Ray. And Kaylee Ray and Dewdrop were having some good success immediately, which got them a women's title match at Survivor Series. But Dewdrop and Kaylee Ray were unsuccessful. I told you about Lacey Evans. I'm still trying to figure out what WWE's trying to do with her. I'll bring her into the universe mode reluctantly at that point. Liv Morgan, she just got beat up by Rhea a lot at the beginning. I never had her team with AJ because by the time that happened in real life, the storyline with AJ and Judgment Day had kind of already passed. So there is not really a alliance with anybody. Well, there wasn't, and then I called up Cora Jade because I just kind of figured Liv Morgan and Cora Jade would make another good tag team for the Raw division. Um, so that's what I did there, and now she's been having a little bit more success and getting on the card more often. Nikki Ash remained in the superhero gimmick and only got on Raw like 2 times, at maybe even less, until Clash at the Castle, where in her home country she got the triple threat match with 2 other Scottish lasses. Won that to become the leader of the new faction, the Nation. And also in that match, she came out as Nikki Cross, not ASH. So she has ditched the superhero gimmick and is in the singles division as the leader of the trio of Scottish lasses. Queen Zelina teams with Carmella. Basically, they're really background characters. Rhea Ripley, like I said, she won the Raw Women's title at Hell in the Cell, but then lost it at SummerSlam, I think, to Becky Lynch. Sorry, I've been clicking it on all the way. I'm just kind of losing my voice, and I haven't even got. I got SmackDown, NXT, and the Performance Center to go. Wish me luck. Although I think SmackDown roster is smaller. Sonya, she's now part of Absolution again. I don't really have a good reason to explain why Mandy and Sonya are teaming again. But it just seemed like another thing where I could have Sonya in the singles division and I could have Mandy dominate NXT from here to the cows come home. But instead, I'd rather them be a mid card tag team on Raw. And any of these tag teams, they could have singles matches at any point, and any one of them could win the Royal Rumble or Money in the Bank, or like if they get in the Money in the Bank, that is. Um, and then I already said Tamina is now teaming with Dana Brooke, so pretty good Raw Women's Division. I've added some people we'll touch on once I get down to the NXT rosters. SmackDown, Angel. I'm gonna go through this quicker because my voice is dying. Angel, they've been turned face, him and Humberto Los Lotharios. They've turned face when Legado del Fantasma got called up to SmackDown and feuded with them, and they had a lot of classic matches, leading to Los Lotharios teaming with the Mysterios at SummerSlam or Survivor Series against Legado del Fantasma in a losing effort, but that match was crazy good. Um, Definitely go back on my YouTube and find that one. Biggie, still out with his injury. I got to keep an eye out on his news in real life. We're almost coming up to the year anniversary in universe mode from when he got injured. I probably won't even think about bringing him back until at least SummerSlam 2023, which is like 6 7 months away in our universe mode. But I might even go 2 years because we don't even know if he's ever gonna come back. Hopefully he does, but um, yeah, good luck to Biggie's recovery. Butch, he's now part of the tag team with Ridge Holland so that Sheamus can be a singles competitor. And they've also got Drew Gulak as not Drew Gulak, but Drew McIntyre as an ally now. Um, and I've had Butch looking pretty decent. I made sure that Butch definitely looks better than Ridge Holland. Drew Gulak, I explained him already, but to reiterate, he went over 100 days as Intercontinental Champion after winning it from Ricochet, and before that, he just was dominating the mid card, the lower mid card of SmackDown, the likes of Jinder, Shanky, Madcap Moss, Baron Corbin, and then he beat Ricochet in a really good match and held on to the title for over 100 days before getting his butt kicked by Ciampa in the unification match for the Intercontinental title. Since then, Gulak has won a couple matches, including a big like a triple threat or might even have been a five-way, somewhere in between 3 and 5 people. So Gulak is still pretty strong, and like I said, he's one of those people I could definitely see getting fired in real life in the next month or two, which means I would have to immediately cut him from my universe mode, which would be sad, but that's how we're dealt with. Or he could stay with WWE for the next 2, 3, 4 years. Who knows? Drew McIntyre, I told you his story. After being unsuccessfully challenging Roman for a few times. Got again the number one contendership match after Roman didn't want Cody to win, so he helped Drew win. And then Drew, in his home country, in the main event of Clash at the Castle, never once even tried to win the match. Got himself purposely counted out. Is now a heel and has been feuding with Cody for a month or two, and has aligned himself with Sheamus, Butch, and Ridge Holland. Eric and Ivar, they've been good hands in the SmackDown tag division, but just like Alpha Academy and stuff like that, it's hard to get everybody in the tag division on. Gunther slash Walter in our game, he got turned on like almost immediately. Ludwig Kaiser slash Marcel Bartel, the game just had him turn on Gunther. Before that, Gunther had hospitalized in a storyline, just beating the crap out of Shinsuke to the point that Shinsuke got hospitalized and out of action for a few weeks. And then after that feud was done, where Gunther beat Shinsuke, even on his return, Gunther got turned on by Marcel Bartel slash Ludwig Kaiser, who then recruited what's his name, Fabian Eichner, and but in a handicap match, Gunther still beat those two. So now Gunther is a mega face along with Cody Rhodes and Braun Breaker as the three big faces on SmackDown's singles division, and is currently feuding with Sheamus. But I could also see that leading to a Drew McIntyre versus Gunther feud in the future. Happy Corbin, he's basically the gatekeeper to like between the WWE Championship division and the Intercontinental Championship division on SmackDown. Like, if you want to get to, all you gotta do is beat Corbin, and you can go from one to the other, kind of deal. Although Corbin's not even in contention for the Intercontinental. If that, it's I'm losing my voice. Let's just keep going on. Usos, they failed to capture the unified titles against RK Bro, um, but did win the big star-studded Survivor Series traditional elimination match with Jey Uso and I think it was Xavier Woods being the survivors. Jinder Mahal, perennial loser, can give you a good match here and there. He helped build up Braun Breaker and Drew Gulak. So like Jinder, Shanky, and Happy Corbin are there to build up new faces. That's basically their role on the SmackDown roster. Ludwig Kaiser, like I said, turned on Gunther, and now is teaming with Fabian Eichner on the SmackDown tag division. Mace, I've got him teaming with Mansoor and with Max Dupree as their manager. Maximum Male Models, Mace Mansoor. They've had a couple good matches, and I should mention the three of them did have a face turn at a point. So those Mace Mansoor and Max Dupree are faces. I'm pretty sure in real life they're going to be heels, but in our game they got turned face. Rick Boogs, we're almost coming up on a year of him being out, which I would say Rick Boogs will return before Big E, and I'll probably just put Boogs and Shinsuke back together as a tag team um, when that happens. Ricochet, he was Intercontinental title champion for a while until Drew Gulak beat him, and then um, basically he's friends with Gulak now. They're like allies. They'll tag team, but he's still doesn't like that. Like he lost the Intercontinental title to him. Um, but yeah, Ricochet keeps winning big matches, including I think the last SmackDown, end of the year SmackDown. Um, Ricochet won a big four-way match with other mid carders in it. So Ricochet's still pretty high on the list of mid card at SmackDown. Sami Zayn on the lower end of the upper mid card, so or like the lower end of the upper card, so upper mid card. Still is a heel. Um, there's been at least two or three like moments where like Sami Zayn could elect babyface sympathy. So maybe there's a babyface turn in the future for Sami Zayn. I'm not quite sure. Um, in real life now, he's like really aligned himself with the bloodline. But in our universe mode, there hasn't really been any. I've got Solo Sikoa in the bloodline instead, basically playing the role of Sami Zayn. So um, we'll see where that goes. Shanky, he's a good guy to have out there because it looks good if you beat a 7 foot guy. He's basically the Commander Aziz of SmackDown. But other than that, I mean, early on in SmackDown, before I boosted the roster, he was fighting like Madcap Moss a lot, and he was part of the Ricochet, Drew Gulak, Madcap Moss, Jinder Mahal, Shanky. They were like the ones fighting for the Intercontinental title before I boosted up the roster a little bit. Sheamus, I've taken him out of the tag team with Ridge, and now I've made him a singles wrestler. They're still aligned. It's just Ridge and Butch team together now. And Sheamus is currently in a feud with Walter, but even after the last SmackDown, Sheamus jumped Walter from behind and still got his butt kicked. So um, they're gonna have to do some rethinking. But again, they've got Drew Gulak aligned with they've got Drew Gulak as an ally. Sheamus, Ridge, and Butch do. Shinsuke, I pretty much told you everything. He got sent to the hospital by Walter. Um, and then even after coming back, he lost. And but he's been building up since then. He's one of those marquee faces along with Braun Breaker, Walter, and Cody on the SmackDown roster. Shinsuke's right there with them. And Xavier Woods, one of the sole survivors at the big All Star tag match at Survivor Series, along with Jey Uso. Haven't had a chance other than no one-on-one or two-on-two. I mean, tag world tag title opportunities yet for the New Day. They really haven't had any singles matches either. Him and Kofi. I think I had Butch beat Xavier a couple times, but other than that, nothing really. Let me go get a drink real quick, and I can get through the rest of this because my voice is dying. So I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. I got some drink now, though. I can get through the rest of this. All right, so the SmackDown Women's Division. Of course, I was having Naomi and Sasha like run through the competition in the women's tag division. Um, until of course all the news came out and I had to take them out, but I was gonna have them lose to the new team of Alexa Bliss and Rhea Ripley anyway. Hold on one second, I feel a sneeze. Sorry about that. I couldn't get to the mute button in time. Um, so SmackDown in real life, the SmackDown Women's Division has like 7 active people. Um, so I had to call up a lot of people. But anyway, here's what the current ones are doing. Aaliyah, she's been at pretty much the bottom of the faces on SmackDown. She teams with Raquel Rodriguez here and there. Charlotte, she was champion, but lost the I Quit match at WrestleMania Backlash. She, um, in my universe mode and in real life. Then I had her take a break. Then she came back, but when she came back, she formed the Queen stable with Natty and Shayna, and then um, currently is feuding with Ronda and her new tag partner Shotzi. And of course, Charlotte is one of the top contenders for the unified world title. Naomi, unfortunately, has been taken out of the game after having I think her and Sasha had the women's tag title for like 100 days at least in or close to 100 days at least. Natty, she feuded with Naomi and Sasha for a while because when the game was first set up, there was barely any tag teams like there is in real life because I was trying to do everything like real life. Now there's like way more tag teams now that I've set it up better. But Natty, her and Shayna, they couldn't beat Natty and Sasha. And then when Charlotte came, they seemed to throw a new fire under Natty and Shayna, and they've been having some better success. Raquel, like I said, she teams with Aaliyah in there, but Raquel is definitely higher on the depth chart or on the card than Aaliyah is. Ronda Rousey, she won the title at WrestleMania Backlash, but then lost it at SummerSlam, I think, to a returning Bailey. I had Bailey return at the Money in the Bank. Oh wait, no, Ronda didn't lose the title to Bailey. So Bailey did return at Money in the Bank, but then Shotzi instead of Bailey. I controlled Bailey, but Shotzi went to the computers in the eight woman SmackDown Money in the Bank. There was only one women's Money in the Bank, but it was only SmackDown people allowed, and Shotzi won it. So Shotzi had the Money in the Bank briefcase, and a few weeks after that, when Ronda won a close match against Naomi, Shotzi came out and cashed in her Money in the Bank on a weekend Rousey and beat her. And then at SummerSlam, Shotzi had to defend against Ronda, and Shotzi like ran away and like was trying to cheat, and like there was no way, like Shotzi didn't believe that she could fight Ronda one-on-one, and frankly nobody else thought she could win the one-on-one match either. So Shotzi just pulled out like all the heel tricks and running away, and ended up getting a count out victory over Ronda after pulling some trickery. But that feud with Shotzi and Ronda continued for like the next month, leading up to Clash at the Castle. But by the time we got to Clash at the Castle, Shotzi had pretty much confirmed that she's gonna be a face and fight Ronda Rousey straight up, no shenanigans, no running away, no tomfoolery. And Shotzi fought her one-on-one, and she was a woman of her word, and actually won that match. Shotzi beat Ronda Rousey straight up, clean, 1, 2, 3, and Shotzi retained her title, but this time as a face now, and one that actually won it legitimately. Like, you know what I mean? But after that, Bailey was now getting the whispers of Edge in her ear. We think by this point she wasn't fully with them, but Bailey did beat Ronda in a number one contenders match. But also by that point, Charlotte had just returned and started fucking with Ronda. Um, so Bailey won that number one contendership match, and Bailey won the title match against Shotzi, which then eventually, or I mean not eventually, but like after that, after Shotzi lost her rematch as well, um, put Shotzi and Ronda as a face tag team called Weapons of Mass Destruction. They come out to Shotzi's music. It's pretty cool. It's a good place for Ronda in the tag division. So we've got a pretty good women's tag division built up now. Um, with a lot of these tag teams having at least like one of the members, maybe if not both, people that could eventually or even at any point compete for the world title. Like a Ronda Rousey's in a tag team but could compete for a world title. Um, and same with like a Shayna Baszler, you know. Um, Xia Li, again, probably the lowest on the in real life and in game at the start, the lowest on the ladder for the heels on SmackDown. So I noticed that like I couldn't find anything for Erica Yan on NXT to do, and I really couldn't get anything going for Xia Li. So I put those two together. I gave them the Bludgeon Brothers entrance with the mallets and like everything, and they're called the Empire of Pain. And I do have plans going forward to get the Empire of Pain broaden them to a larger group going forward. But yeah, Xia Li's currently in a heel tag team with Erica Yan called the Empire of Pain. So, um, like I said, I built up the women's division pretty well. And there's even more when I get to the NXT stuff. I'll be like, yeah, I called this guy up, I called this girl up, blah blah blah. So we'll get to that coming up here. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm already 2 hours 15 minutes in, and I want to get this done fast. So Paul Heyman, he's still the Bloodline's manager. He'll even come out and manage matches for Solo Sikoa, who's been called up to the Bloodline. And yeah, he's been doing his thing as a manager. Bailey, I've already pretty much told her whole story, but she's currently the first ever women's world champion, the big gold belt, the old WCW big gold belt with the white strap. And Bailey, first ever and the current world champion, and is part of the Judgment Day. Brock Lesnar and John Cena haven't made any appearances in the Universal mode. Maybe I'll have them in a match at WrestleMania. Adam Pierce, we haven't seen him whatsoever. All right, A Kid. It was tough to find A Kid, like just like real life. Like it seems like they've already given up on A Kid. We haven't seen him on NXT in like a month, but he's a really good wrestler in real life and in the game. So he's been in there and there about. Recently, he won a big, I think it was a battle royal, which got him into the War Games. Because it was about 2 weeks ago, we just finished the NXT War Games pay per view, and A Kid was by winning that battle royal with a lot of really good people in it. A Kid was a surprise winner, got himself into the Elimination Chamber, which he ended up losing, but um, found himself in going for the NXT Championship, not just the North American Championship division that he's in. Andre Chase. It took a while for Andre Chase and Bodie Hayward to start to get featured in the tag division. But now they're featured quite heavily. They're moving up the card. Andre Chase and Bodie Hayward, that is, as part of Chase U. And what are these? Uh, they just finished a feud with Pretty Deadly, which they won, and it was a bloody feud. So it showed a new side of Chase U, a more aggressive and serious side. Boa, I put him in a tag team, or he was feuding with Ru Fang for a while, and then after they were like making each other bloody and stuff, they decided to team up. And they've been one of the big surprise tag teams of the entire universe mode period. Boa and Rufang. I gave them the name the Brain Busters. I know it's a little sacrilegious, because that's double A's and I wanted to say Paul Orndorff, Paul Ellering's tag team name, but it just fit with their whole like their knee. They do a lot of Muay Thai and like knees the a lot of head damage. So Brain Busters was a good name for them. Boa and Rufang. That is, they haven't gotten the NXT tag titles yet, even though they've had a couple opportunities. But they're still pretty young as a tag team and as wrestlers, and definitely found themselves as a staple of the NXT tag division. Bodie Hayward, just like the whole Andre Chase story I just told you, just the younger protege of Andre Chase. Braun Breaker, I think within a month or so of our Universe mode, lost the NXT title to Carmelo Hayes. And I pretty much, from there, figured I need you on SmackDown, Braun. So I put Braun Breaker on SmackDown. I pretty much told you his whole story throughout these other stories. He's teamed with Cody a couple times. He's beaten up Jinder Mahal and Shanky a bunch. And I'm looking forward to seeing what feuds, maybe like a Sheamus or Sami Zayn or something like that for Braun coming up. Brooks Jensen, Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs have kind of been in that Alpha Academy slash, what was the SmackDown equivalent? I already forget, but they just too many other tag teams. They have them featured enough, but I hope to feature them more in the future. Cameron Grimes, he held on to the NXT North American title for a little while before losing it to Damon Kemp. From there, kind of had a little feud with Tony D'Angelo, which I failed to mention. Braun Breaker also had a feud with Tony D'Angelo after losing the title. And Braun Breaker also was getting tormented by Joe Gacy. he was able to successfully defend against Joe Gacy, but the mind games continued after that, which led to um, Carmelo Hayes picking up the tag title after Braun was like, or picking up the NXT title after Braun was like mentally getting broken by Joe Gacy. So Joe Gacy didn't win the title from Braun, but he did cause Braun to lose the title. And after Cameron Grimes lost the NXT North American title, um, just like Braun, Tony D'Angelo beat them up, and then they got called up. So in Tony D'Angelo's mind, he's driving these guys out of his territory as the Don of NXT. So Tony D'Angelo, in his own mind, can think that, oh yeah, I drove Braun Breaker out, I've drove Cameron Grimes out, but in reality, they were just needed on the main roster. But you know what I mean. Carmelo Hayes, like I just said, he's the one that beat Braun Breaker, but after Braun give an assist to Joe Gacy, not in the actual match, but all the weeks and months leading up to that point in time. Carmelo held the title for a little while. There was even a point in time where Trick Williams and Carmelo was NXT champion, and Trick Williams had the excuse me um, North American title for 2 weeks. Um, Carmelo ended up losing the. I have the hiccups again. Carmelo Hayes ended up losing the title to, I'm pretty sure it was Ilya Dragunov, and then went up to the main roster after that, um, along with Trick Williams to join the new Hurt Business with MVP and Cedric and Shelton. So Carmelo Hayes is now on Raw. He's in the WWE Championship division with Trick Williams in the Intercontinental division. And he's got MVP as a manager and the rest of Hurt Business to help him out. And has big wins over, I think he's beaten Omos and Bobby Lashley, albeit with some help from Hurt Business since joining. Channing Lorenzo, one of the goons for Tony D'Angelo, helped Tony D'Angelo, quote unquote, drive off Braun Breaker and Cameron Grimes from NXT. They haven't had Channing Lorenzo and his tag partner, Troy Donovan, haven't had too many, and this is stacks and two dimes if you don't know. The lackeys for Tony D'Angelo. But they formed the Don Tony, not Mafia, but the Don Tony family is what they're called in the game, in the universe mode. And recently, so I had mentioned Ilya Drag. Oh wait, no. So Carmelo Hayes lost the NXT title to a recently turned heel and turned his back on Diamond Mine, Roderick Strong. So that's who Carmelo Hayes lost the title to, and Roderick Strong lost the title to Ilya Dragunov and then Ilya Dragunov had a feud with Tony D'Angelo, where they actually traded the title back and forth. So Ilya was champion. He lost a non-title match to Tony D'Angelo with help from the goons, Channing Lorenzo, Stacks, and two dimes, Troy Donovan. And then Tony D'Angelo won the following week in the same shady fashion, but this time it was for the title. The next week, Ilya got a title match, won it right back, and then the week after that, it looked like Ilya Dragunov was about to win, but then Channing Lorenzo and Troy Donovan jumped into the match, causing a disqualification, leading War Games. But I can't do War Games in WWE 2K, so the best I could do was a regular style Elimination Chamber match, but I put Stacks and two dimes in there along with Tony D'Angelo, and it just so happened that those two ended up being the first. It was perfect. Those two started first. It was Stacks and two dimes started the Elimination Chamber, which also featured A Kid. Like I said, won that Battle Royal. Joe Gacy was in there, and then the champion Ilya Dragunov. So it was those three along with the three Don Tony family members. And I controlled st- uh, either Stacks or Two Dimes. I can't remember, but I made sure that they stayed away from each other, and then like double teamed whoever came in first. And thankfully, it wasn't Tony D. And then I think it was actually Ilya Dragunov. So they got the early jump on the champion. And by the end of it, the last three people remaining after three eliminations were Stacks, Two Dimes, and Tony. So they basically laid down for Tony and got Tony D'Angelo the title. His second reign, the first one only lasted 7 days, and now he's 2 weeks. That was only 2 weeks ago. War Games happened at the third week of December. So Tony D'Angelo for the in his second title reign, but is only on his 20th day as champion. And the last episode of NXT saw Ilya Dragunov taking out Channing Stacks Lorenzo in the backstage area. So it looks like Ilya is on a crusade to take out the family. Let's see how he does and if he gets any allies. Cruz del Toro is Raul Mendoza in our universe. I mentioned pretty much his whole story. Legado del Fantasma joins SmackDown. They also recruited Javier Bernal to there, so they got 4 guys and 2 women as well, along with Elektra Lopez. They've got Roxanne Perez. So the 6 of them are on SmackDown, and I heard a little rumor mill that the head of the table is not liking a new gang encroaching on his SmackDown territory. So look for that in the future. Damon Kemp. Damon Kemp is part of Diamond Mine in real life and in the universe. He did not join Roddy when Roddy turned heel and turned his back on the Diamond Mine. He stayed with the rest of the Diamond Mine. Damon Kemp is currently in his second reign as North American champion. He won the title from Trick Williams. Trick Williams only with a 2-week reign. And then Damon Kemp lost the title, North American title, to Duke Hudson, who Duke Hudson held it for a while, but Damon Kemp won it back at War Games in a fatal 4-way cage match. So Damon Kemp got out of the cage before anyone else. And so I think they've already had Duke Hudson had his rematch against Damon Kemp, but it was actually a draw, double count out. So I think Duke Hudson will have a rematch still. Idris Enofe along with Malik Blade, they ended up winning. I named them because the reason I'm giving all these tag teams names is when it's 2 created wrestlers, it doesn't say their names. It'll just say coming down the aisle at a combined weight of 403 pounds, and it'll just stop there if it's 2 created wrestlers. So like for Idris Enofe and Malik Blade, I named them the Chick Magnets. The Chick Magnets. Sorry. Which is one of the things they'll say in the game, and it kind of goes with their gimmick. Elton Prince, part of Pretty Deadly. They were. Oh wait, I failed to mention Idris Enofe and Malik Blade won the tag titles from the Diamond Mine, the Creed brothers, and held on to them for I think 100 days at least. And then recently in what was it? I think it was a triple threat tornado tag Hell in a Cell match at War Games. Idris Enofe and Malik Blade lost the titles back to the Creed brothers. So the Creed brothers now have the titles. But Idris and Malik did hold the tag titles for about 100 days. Elton Prince is the Pretty Deadly guy along with Kit Wilson. They lost the titles after about a month to the Creed brothers. And pretty much haven't had a lot of success since. They've had losses to they lost a feud after that to Malik Blade and Idris Enofe. Then they lost to a returning Mustache Mountain and recently have just lost a blood feud with after pissing off Chase University and end up losing that feud too. So Pretty Deadly are kind of on rock bottom. Fabian Eichner, I had him return once once Ludwig Kaiser slash Marcel Bartel turned on Walter. I figured I may as well call up Fabian Eichner and put them back together as a tag team with Ludwig Kaiser slash Marcel Bartel. So those two are a tag team called Imperium on SmackDown, and Gunther has nothing to do with them. Gunther's a face and has nothing to do with Imperium. Um, we did in real life just last night on NXT get a vignette for a character coming soon called Giovanni Vinci. There's a small chance that that could be Fabian Eichner's, and they've given him a new name and gimmick, which he will for sure have a new name at some point because, as you can see here, his real name is Fabian Eichner, and you're no longer allowed to have any part of your real name. Like this Wikipedia page is wrong. Drake's name or James Drake's name is Drake, officially Drake now, except he's also one of the Druids. But if you remember when people were like, "Oh, they got rid of the," I listened to like 4 different review podcasts about NXT that week. Every single one of them said, "Oh, they're no longer called grizzled young veterans. They're called Drake and Gibson." No, you idiots. Their characters' names are no longer James Drake. It's Drake and Zach Gibson. It's Gibson because James couldn't have James as his first name because it's his real first name. So just because it would be kind of awkward to be like Drake and Zach Gibson. So it was Drake and Gibson. Well, then like they became the Druids anyway, but it was going to be, it wasn't that they dropped grizzled young veterans. It was they dropped James and Zach. Um, anyway, Joaquin Wild, again, just like his tag partner, and that's why Cruz del Toro had to change his name from Raul Mendoza. Thanks to like Adam Cole and them going that. Well, Adam Cole, but also like CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, because Bryan Danielson's so close to Daniel Bryan. So like now they're all freaked out about like real names and stuff. Um, but yeah, Joaquin Wild on SmackDown won the big feud against Los Lotharios and is looking to improve in the tag division. Joe Gacy, I kind of didn't have him do a whole lot at the beginning of our universe mode because I was trying to wait and confirm who his druids are. And like, so I had like in our universe mode, he was feuding with Braun Breaker and he lost the title match with Braun Breaker, but he still continued to like torment Braun with like backstage attacks or mid match in distractions and stuff like that. And Joe Gacy eventually caused Braun to lose the NXT title to Carmelo Hayes. And shortly after that, Tony D'Angelo had a mini feud with Braun Breaker, and Braun Breaker was gone, and it kind of left Joe Gacy with nothing to do. And I didn't have him with any Druids yet because I was waiting to confirm that Drake and Gibson were the Druids. I still don't have 100% confirmation. Like we're what 3 or maybe even 4 weeks later, but I'm 99% sure that Drake and Gibson are the 2 red Druids. So now Joe Gacy in our universe has his Druids, and I've been featuring him more. And he came up short in the War Games Elimination Chamber for the for the NXT title. Just recently came up short in that 2 weeks ago. I mentioned Josh Briggs along with his tag partner Brooks Jensen. They really kind of got lost in the tag shuffle, but are being featured again more recently. But they do look good whenever they're in the ring. Josh Briggs is really big, so at any point he could have a singles career ahead of him too. Julius Creed, along with his brother Brutus Creed like I said, won the tag titles from Pretty Deadly, but then lost them a little bit later after Roderick Strong turned on Diamond Mine. Um, they lost the tag titles to Malik Blade and Idris Enofe, but just recently, after 100 days had passed, the Creed brothers regained the tag titles. So they're in Diamond Mine along with Damon Kemp, Ivy Nile, and Tatum Paxley. And actually, as of last episode of NXT, all of Diamond Mine holds gold again. So right around the time Diamond Mine were holding all the gold, um, other than Roderick Strong, and that's kind of when Roderick Strong turned, and maybe his motivation for why. Because Damon Kemp was the North American champion, Creed brothers were the tag champs, and Ivy Nile was actually the person that dethroned Mandy Rose to win the NXT Women's Championship. So I think that's the motivation for Roderick Strong's turn. And when Roderick Strong turned, it also coincided with Ivy Nile and the Creed brothers both losing their or both all three lost. Oh, wait, no, all four because Damon Kemp as well. So all four people lost their tag titles right around when Roderick turned on them. Roderick turned on them and stuff. Roderick ended up getting the NXT title a little bit after that, and now is on Raw after losing the NXT title to Ilya Dragunov. So, pretty crazy ride for the Diamond Mine. Kit Wilson, like I said, Pretty Deadly have kind of had a downfall ever since having the titles. We'll see where they go from here. Malik Blade has been one of the most. I already came into this a huge Idris Nove fan. Now I'm just as big as Malik Blade fan. Um, one of the best tag teams on in the entire universe mode. Nathan Fraser, good guy to have in there. He always has exciting matches. Teams with Wes Lee every now and then. Um, had a couple feuds. The most recent is Jordan Devlin, who joined from the NXT UK, came in as a face, but then turned heel by attacking Nathan Fraser, and they had a pretty at least a month-long feud leading up to a Last Man Standing match at War Games, which Nathan Fraser lost to Jordan Devlin. IC Jones, I had him return from injury, probably like after Survivor Series or so. So he's been around for maybe after SummerSlam. So IC Jones has been around for about 2 months now. He's found himself at the upper card of the upper mid card, so like in contention for the North American title, which he was in the Fatal 4-Way North American cage match that he didn't win. Roderick Strong, I pretty much told you his story. He turned on the rest of Diamond Mine going rogue, but then shortly after, having turned heel, he won the NXT title. And then after losing the NXT title like a month or so later, he moved up to the Raw roster where he's I think currently in a feud with Carmelo, or not Carmelo Hayes, but Cameron Grimes. Ru Feng, he's the one that teamed with Boa, the formed the Brain Busters. Probably like the third or fourth ranked tag team in NXT. Have had a couple opportunities at the NXT tag titles, but haven't been able to win them yet. Sangha, I have him in the NXT Championship division. He hasn't really had any. I don't think he's had any title matches. Kind of loses against the other guys in his division, but destroys anybody in the North American division. He could be a North American champion, but I just feel like he's too big. So I have like Sangha and like Von Wagner in the NXT Championship division. Even though they haven't really had a lot of title matches, I think they're like too big for the North American division. Santos Escobar again. I moved Legado del Fantasma up to SmackDown. And Santos with a big win over Rey Mysterio at Clash of the Castle. And then again, beating the Mysterios and Los Lotharios in a traditional Survivor Series elimination match. Santos finds himself in the SmackDown upper card along the likes of like Sheamus, Sami Zayn, that kind of level, and Braun Breaker as well is in the SmackDown upper card, right around the same level as Santos. So Sikoa has been moved up to the Bloodline on SmackDown, is in the Intercontinental division, and hasn't been winning all his matches, kind of like 50-50 since moving up to the main roster, but always has showed a lot of fight and a lot of heart despite being a heel. You know, the Bloodline are kind of tweeners anyway, but Solo Sikoa has shown a lot of heart, even in losing efforts, and it looks like it's only a matter of time before he'll pick up the pace. And basically, spoiler alert, after WrestleMania, I'm gonna have Roman leave for a little while, and then Jey Uso is gonna take over, and then basically act like he's Roman Reigns. So then it's gonna be Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso as the new tag team, while Jey goes for the singles titles. That should be fun. Tony D'Angelo currently in his second reign as NXT champion, but only on his 20th day combined. Um, and he has Ilya hunting him down. Like I said, Tony thinks he drove out Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes. And if Tony D'Angelo gets called up at a point, either Raw or SmackDown, one of those. So if he goes to Raw, Carmelo or not Carmelo Hayes, but Cameron Grimes. I get those two mixed up every single time. Carmelo and Cameron. Too similar, especially they're feuding in real life and stuff. Trick Williams had a 14-day North American title reign, and is now in the Hurt Business on Raw alongside Carmelo Hayes. And Trick Williams has beaten Bobby Lashley, although with help, but he holds a win over Bobby Lashley on Raw. Troy Donovan is the other goon for Tony D'Angelo and the tag partner for Channing Lorenzo. He just recently helped Tony D'Angelo win the NXT title in the War Games Elimination Chamber match. Von Wagner, he's like I said, they're about. He's the heel version of Sanga. The two of them are like at the low level of the NXT Championship division as opposed to the North American division. Wesley, I'm kind of just waiting. I think he's in the next round of DLC, which comes out in like 2 weeks. I think 2 weeks from today, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm waiting for get the real Wesley before I do like any storylines or stuff with him. He tag teams with Nathan Frazier because they have them kind of being buddies in real life. So they tag team a little bit, but he's in the North American division. I think he might even have had a North American title shot, but and hasn't gotten it. Zion Quinn, like right when what do you call it? The universe mode started. Zion Quinn went on a tear. He won the North American title from Cameron Grimes, and then like once he lost it, he got called up. Raw wanted him right away, but it might have been a premature call up. When Zion Quinn got called up, he ended up losing a feud to Veer, and then lost a feud to the T-Bar, who had just recently shedded the T-Bar gimmick to go back to Dominic Dijakovic. So Zion Quinn is a face on Raw, but now is below who got called up after him, but is ahead of him on the pecking order now, Cameron Grimes. So Zion Quinn might even get called or demoted back down to NXT. It might have been too early to call him up, but they called him up after a big wait. Zion Quinn looked like he could beat anybody. Zach Gibson, like I said, he's part of the Druid squad. All right, just 1 second. All right, sorry about that. Um, so yeah, Zach Gibson is the other Druid alongside his tag partner James Drake. Um, they're now Druid G and Druid D, part of the Joe Gacy ministry, and finally getting some wins. I think the Druids just beat Mustache Mountain in the last episode of NXT. So before that, they weren't really doing anything. So that's the whole reason to join. Alba Fire, which is Kaylee Ray. I told you already. She got called up to Raw. Had the whole triple threat match with the other two Scottish lasses. Lost that match, which made Nikki Cross the leader of their new faction called the Nation. And Kaylee Ray now tag teams with Dewdrop, and they had a lot of success right off the bat, leading up to a title match. But they lost the title match against the Judgment Day, Alexa Bliss and Rhea Ripley. Amari Miller, she's been caught in the middle of um, the women's division. Wins a few matches here, loses a few matches there. Totally 50-50. No real storylines. I hope she gets more in the future. Cora Jade, she wasn't really getting anything on NXT. So I moved her up to Raw so she can be in the tag team with um, Liv Morgan. Alexa Lopez, she got moved up with the rest of Legado del Fantasma up to SmackDown. But then I didn't really want Alexa Lopez in the singles division, so also called up Roxanne Perez, turned her heel, and put her in the Legado del Fantasma stable. So Alexa Lopez is in the SmackDown tag division with Roxanne Perez. Fallon Henley, first ever. I created a title because there were so many women in NXT. I felt like they could support a secondary singles title. It's created in the style of the men's NXT North American title. But this one's the NXT National Championship, and Fallon Henley was the first ever to win it. She held on to it for like a month or so until losing it to Ariana Grace, sorry. And then recently at War Games won it back in I think that was a tables match. There was all kinds of gimmicks at War Games. I had to pull out all the stops since they didn't have actual War Games match. Um, Gigi Dolan, along with her tag partner JC Jane, they had a long, long feud with Wendy Chu and Roxanne Perez over the NXT Women's title. Wendy Chu and Roxanne Perez eventually won the title and held on to it for a month or so until Gigi and JC won it back. Around that point is when Mandy Rose lost her title to Ivy Nile, and then just like Roderick with Diamond Mine, I think she grew jealous over the success that Gigi and JC were having, and Mandy Rose turned on Gigi and JC, and then Mandy formed a new stable in NXT called the Click. So this included Brooklyn Barlow, Sophia Cromwell, and oh wait no, Brooklyn Barlow, Sophia Cromwell, Ariana Grace, and then the cherry on top was Tiffany Stratton. So 5-woman stable, and they started going crazy. Tiffany Stratton won the NXT title from um, Ivy Nile, and Ariana Grace won the newly minted NXT National Championship from Fallon Henley, and Brooklyn Barlow and Sophia Cromwell won the NXT tag titles from Gigi Dolan and JC Jane, and this feud went on for a while. After it was all said and done, um, Gigi and JC beat the crap out of Mandy Rose, and Mandy Rose was never seen in NXT again. We then saw her on Raw tag teaming with Sonya Deville, and now after Tiffany Stratton lost the title, She actually lost it to Ivy Niles' tag partner, Tatum Paxley, who Tatum Paxley at one of the big premium live events um, won a 8-women ladder match for a title opportunity. So Tatum Paxley was actually the one to avenge her partner Ivy Niles' loss of the title and got the title. Um, Indy Hartwell. I really didn't do much with her because I was waiting for the DLC, which I just got a week ago today. I've now set up Indy as the top heel in the singles division on NXT. It's just she was more natural as a heel, so I just turned her heel once I got the DLC. Um, like her move set and entrance and stuff are all set up to be heels, so it just made more sense. So now, actually, Ivy Nile won the title, so Ivy Nile finally got a rematch, but this time it wasn't against the one she lost it to; it was against her tag partner. And Ivy Nile beat her tag partner, and they're still friends now. It was like a friendly competition, whatever. Um, so Ivy Nile won the title back from Tatum Paxley, and Tatum Paxley, instead of cashing in her rematch against Ivy Niles, she cashed a rematch against for the NXT National Championship instead, which created a triple threat match where Fallon Henley was also getting her rematch against Ariana Grace, and Tatum Paxley actually won that match. So um, everybody in Diamond Mine has a belt. Even Tatum Paxley has the NXT National Championship. Ivy now with the women's, the Creed brothers with the tag, and Damon Kemp with the North American title. Io Shirai, I also moved up to SmackDown because she's definitely ready for the main roster. So she's on SmackDown. She's a loner. She doesn't really have any friends she teams up with, but she's right there in the. She's a face, but she's had a lot of matches with like Raquel already, um, who are both faces, but trying to be the second best singles wrestler on SmackDown behind Charlotte, basically. Katana Chance and Caden Carter have recently, again, I was waiting for Katana Chance's DLC that came out recently, and she's pretty damn fun to play as. I'm not gonna lie. So they might be the ones that finally dethrone the current tag team champions from the Click. And they've been feuding. They came up short in a triple threat tornado tag match. I think it was Hell in a Cell, but it definitely has. It might have been. I think it was TLC, and the champions retain Brooklyn Barlow and Sophia Cromwell, part of the Click. So Katana Chance and Caden Carter are right there, ready to and willing to win the NXT Women's Tag Titles at any point here. Lash Legend, she lost her feud to uh, Nikita Lyons in the beginning of our Universe mode. Then pretty much has been a loser. She's basically the Baron Corbin of the women and the NXT Women's division. She teams up. I think she teams up with um, Indy Hartwell every now and then. Mandy Rose, I pretty much told you her story. She held on to the title for a while, but then lost to the undefeated Ivy Nile. Couldn't get it back in her rematch. Then turned on Toxic Attraction to form a new stable called the Click. But then when she got her ass beat by the Toxic Attraction, she left NXT and went to Raw. So Mandy Rose is currently the leader of the Absolution, along with Sonya Deville and Tiffany Stratton, who she brought Tiffany Stratton into the Click, the NXT group she just formed. But then when she went up, she also brought Tiffany with her. Nikita Lyons, like I said, won her feud against Lash Legend, and then had a feud a little bit later against Roxanne Perez for like number one contendership, and that one stopped being about the title and got personal. Those two feuded for a while with Nikita Lyons turning heel against the babyface Roxanne Perez. I'm pretty sure Nikita ended up losing that feud, but then got called up to SmackDown, where she's caught the eye recently of Charlotte. They've been in it, even though Charlotte's in a stable called the Queens with Shayna Baszler and Natalia. Charlotte teamed with Nikita recently, so kind of keep your friends close, enemies closer, because Charlotte recognizes that Nikita is definitely a threat. Uh, I already said Roxanne Perez's story pretty much, but to reiterate, she feuded with Toxic Attraction for a while, won the tag titles for at least a month with Wendy Chu, lost the titles back to Toxic Attraction, won her feud against Nikita Lyons, then got called up to SmackDown to join Legado del Fantasma as a cocky heel, and she's currently in the SmackDown Tag Division alongside her partner, uh, Electra Lopez. Saray, another one where I'm kind of waiting for the DLC to do anything major with. She's just kind of there, the tag team with people that are feuding for the title, or I think she's had a couple multi women title matches, but has come up short. Sophia Cromwell is currently tag team champion alongside Brooklyn Barlow as part of the Click. She started off the Universe Mode not really wrestling, but being a manager for Von Wagner alongside Mr. Stone, but um, kind of has left those two when Mandy Rose started forming the Click, and now Sophia Cromwell seems to establish herself as a badass heel in the as tag team champions with Brooklyn Barlow. Tatum Paxley, probably one of the um, what do you call it? Like Cinderella stories that's happened out of any of the divisions in any of the rosters so far, having won the NXT title from Tiffany Stratton and held on to it for about a month before losing it to her partner Ivy Nile, but um, 2 days later won the newly formed NXT National Championship. So Tatum Paxley is in Diamond Mine and is a singles champion alongside with her partner, who's also a singles champion, Ivy Nile. Tiffany Stratton won the. She was hanging out with Grayson Waller at the beginning of the Universe Mode, then held kind of a cup of coffee. Couldn't have been more than a month long reign as NXT champion when Mandy Rose recruited her. She beat Ivy Nile that Mandy Rose couldn't. But then Tiffany Stratton lost out of nowhere to Tatum Paxley, and we haven't seen Tiffany Stratton in NXT since. She went up to Raw with Mandy Rose alongside Sonya Deville in Absolution. And she's the singles wrestler out of the threesome. So we'll see Tiffany Stratton in action against like Asuka, Bianca Belair, Becky, Bailey, people like that in the future coming up. Valentina Feroz, along with her tag partner Yulissa Leon, they were the other tag team alongside Katana Chance and Kaden Carter and Brooklyn Barlow and Sophia Cromwell in the most recent War Games TLC title match. They came up short, but at any point I could just like Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, I could see them becoming champions. Wendy Chu, like I said, her and Roxanne Perez held the tag titles for about a month before dropping them back to Toxic Attraction. And then after that, Roxanne moved away to the singles division and then the SmackDown. So Wendy Chu was kind of left on her own. Last we've seen when Wendy Chu has been just like the same as Saray, kind of in that middle of the upper card. Been in some multi-man matches and like the big multi-man. I think there was an elimination chamber for the women's title at I don't remember if there was or not, but I don't think there was because I couldn't get two elimination chambers for whatever reason on the card, only the men's. But Wendy Chu is recently she teamed with Saray a couple times. because the two of them really couldn't find anything else to do. Um, but I do have some plans for her coming up in the future. Anybody that's followed Wendy Chu's career and remembers what I said about the Empire of Pain earlier already knows where I'm going with that one, and I'm looking forward to that for sure. Zoe Stark, I had her come back the same time that I had Odyssey Jones come back, and she went out. She's in the national championship division. Um, was beating up some of the rookie girls, but then found herself losing to some of the people in the like Ariana Grace and I can't remember her name, Fallon Henley. So Zoe Stark is basically on the same trajectory as Odyssey Jones. If you remember, she was teaming in real life with uh, Io Shirai before her injury, before Zoe Stark's injury, but now Io Shirai's on SmackDown, so she didn't have any allies. Mr. Stone is only the manager of Von Wagner, nobody else. Like I said, Sophia Cromwell doesn't really hang out with them anymore. And like I said way earlier, because this has been a marathon, I'm just over 3 hours now. That's crazy. Um, but if I had enough creative character slots to do NXT UK, I definitely would. But unfortunately, I don't. Now, like I've been saying, I've also got most of the performance center guys, and I'll explain to you the ones that I don't. There's only one that I really should have that I don't, and I'll explain as I go here. So the most recent addition to my NXT roster, well, in real life and the universe mode, is Bryson Montana. I think he made his NXT debut in real life a week ago, Friday on Level Up, or it might even have been this Friday because I watched them back to back, so I don't know which one came first. But he had a losing effort to Javier Bernal, but still looks like a beast. You might have seen him in the Ivy Now. He was the one that made it all the way to the end of the Ivy Now challenge a week ago on NXT television. And he's like a jacked dude, so um, I think he just won a Fatal 4-Way on the last episode of NXT in our universe mode, which features some of the other lower mid card guys. So that was a big win, and I think that was his first. He only had a couple, one or two matches on Level Up in our universe mode before that. So it was his NXT debut, TV debut, and he won. Demarius Griffin is the one guy or girl that I couldn't find anybody make, and I'm terrible at the face stuff. So I'll wait a little bit longer, but otherwise, maybe I'll just have to learn how to do the face thing on the because I can make good outfits and move sets, and I can make the entrances and all that, but it's just that face part I'm not good at all. But anyway, if anybody out there has any Damaris Griffin, or if they're good at making faces, I can hook you up with some pictures of Demarius Griffin. The only thing he's in real life, he's had one match on Level Up so far. He teamed with Quincy Elliott, and we haven't seen him since. That was like 3 weeks ago. Um, but nothing really to report about him. He's not as big as Bryson Montana, and he didn't really have a gimmick yet. So we'll see. Um, these next three guys, David Bostinian, Edwin Grande, and Gabe or Gabriel Y. As you can see, those are all their real names, which means they haven't been given their NXT name yet. And as we've known, and as I explained, you're not allowed to have any part of your real name whatsoever anymore. Um, so these three we know for sure don't have to be added to the universe yet because they don't have their NXT name. I'll be keeping it. I keep an eye on this page all the time and on NXT Performance Center news. And I think some of these guys we've seen on TV, like as part of the Ivy Now Challenge, along with Bryson Montana. Obviously, that was a showcase for Bryson Montana, who we saw later that week on Level Up. So Um, and like I said, with the whole name thing, we knew that Bryson Montana was further along on the pecking order because he had his name changed. Like I knew that he had his name changed to Bryson Montana like a month ago, but then it took like 3 more weeks for him to appear on TV, and then also get somebody to create him in the community. So David Bostonian, Edwin Grande, Gabe Y, as well as Joseph Sculthorpe and N- Namdi Ugayo. They all five are waiting for their real names. So um, look forward to adding. They will be added as soon as they get their real names and we have some kind of semblance of what they're gonna wear and stuff. Those five will be added to the universe mode when that happens. The other names on here, Javier Bernal. Even though he's on the Performance Center list, I've got him all the way up to SmackDown already. I needed, basically, I just needed a goon for Legado del Fantasma, like a low level guy for them. So I put Javier Bernal in Legado del Fantasma. Quincy Elliott, he's a fun guy to have in there. He's kind of his gimmick is like non-binary, fun-loving they. So, um, I gave him like the China music that has "Don't treat me like a woman, don't treat me like a man, don't treat me like you know me, treat me for just who I am," which is perfect for his non-binary gimmick. So, um, look forward to seeing more of him in the future. He's had a lot of matches. He's been right there in contention for the North American Championship. But recently he's got pushed down the order now that North American division has added Odyssey Jones and Jordan Devlin. So pushed down the card a little bit. I think at some point I skipped over Guru Raj. He must have been up here. Yeah, so I skipped over Guru. Oh, I skipped over quite a few people. Grayson Waller is one of those people I've been unfortunate that we haven't been able to feature as much, so hopefully he gets some more matches coming up. Ikemenjiro is my lowest level face. He loses a lot of matches, but he's kind of fun to have in the ring. He's got a good move set and a good entrance and a wacky gimmick. So a good guy to have as your lowest level face. Guru Raj is or at least was my lowest level heel because at a point, I think in real life he's a face or at least just the non-binary tweener or whatever, like non-applicable. But in our universe, Guru Raj started as a face, but then turned heel. I think even on Level Up, he turned heel on Level Up of all things. But I just it wasn't like exciting to ever get heel Guru Raj. So like with Ikemenjiro, at least he's got like some exciting gimmicks to him. But with Guru Raj, there was no exciting gimmicks, so I made him the third. Guru Raj is the third druid. So there's two red druids, Druid D and Druid G. That's Drake and Gibson, and then there's a black druid, Druid R, and that is Guru Raj. So Guru Raj now has a gimmick at least. He is the third druid, the singles wrestler out of the. He's in the North American division. Joe Gates is in the NXT division, and then Grizzly Young Veterans are the druids in the tag division. So I skipped over Guru Raj earlier, but I definitely didn't want to leave out that he is now one of the druids, the black druid. He wears black robes, and then Grizzled Young Veterans wear red robes. All right, we're almost done because I'm getting hungry too. And I don't think I'm going to stream at all tonight. I'll be back tomorrow with the rest of the streams. I mean, we'll pick up from there. Hopefully, we can get the Royal Rumble tomorrow. But if not tomorrow, then definitely by the next day, we'll have Royal Rumble. All right, we're almost done. Female performance centers: Ariana Grace, that is Santino Morello's daughter, and she's part of the Clique. She's actually de facto the leader of the Clique now that Mandy and Tiffany Stratton went up to Raw. She beat Fallon Henley to become the second ever NXT National Champion, but recently lost the title back to Fallon Henley. So Ariana Grace doesn't have a title anymore, but her two stable mates, Brooklyn Barlow and Sophia Cromwell, still have their tag titles. So Ariana Grace now in that same spot where Mandy Rose turned on her partners when she lost her singles title, but they still have their tag title. It'll be interesting to see if there's yet another turn. So here we are again. And like I said, Brooklyn Barlow, she's tag team champions with Sophia Cromwell and with Ariana Grace in the Click. Clax Hampton or Calix Hampton or however you say her name. Again, we know we don't have to add her yet. She hasn't been given her NXT name. So I don't even know what she looks like. We'll have to see what kind of information we can find. But Erica Yan, as I mentioned, I moved her all the way up, just like Javier Bernal. I needed some more. Like Javier Bernal and Erica Yan weren't even getting on the NXT roster because, like, the NXT roster still, even after I made all these call-ups, still the NXT roster has more people than either SmackDown or Raw. So it was hard to get all these people, even with the additional. There's only one minor show, and that's Level Up, that has 3 matches. So even with the additional 3 matches of NXT, it's still like Erica Yan and Javier Bernal like were never getting featured. But but I needed like bodies in the tag division and stuff on the main roster. So that's why like Erica Yan already got called up to SmackDown. And like Erica Yan and Javier Bernal, I've been just having them get beat up. Like they're low level on the SmackDown roster. But Erica Yan has been teaming. She's in the Empire of Pain with Xia Li. And like I said, I've got plans for the Empire of Pain. So Erica Yan just needs to take her couple. She needs to take her L's now because better things are ahead. Jakara Jackson, I don't think she's had any matches in real life on NXT, but I know for a fact I've seen her before. But I know I'm pretty sure I've seen her before last night on NXT television, but she was for sure. Jakara Jackson was on NXT last night. She was the female with the red hair in the barbershop segment with Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes, and I'm looking forward to see her wrestles. I don't think she's had any matches on Level Up or anything on. I'll have to check because I wasn't watching 205 Live, but I don't think she's had a 205 Live match either. But she's hanging around in the background. She looks like a star. No, not to be like racist, but she looks like maybe they already have their or hoping to have their Bailey replacement, if or not Bailey, but Sasha replacement, because I get a lot of Sasha vibes off of Jakara Jackson. Kiana James, she's right there in the upper mid card. Um, had a couple title matches, but unsuccessful for the national championship. And she has formed a tag team, on and off tag team with Sloane Jacobs. Simone, I think it's Simone, but it could be Simone or something along those lines because of the whole Samoan heritage. But that's The Rock's daughter, and she's yet to have a match in NXT. She's yet to appear on television. She's been on the Performance Center roster for a little while now, like a few years. I don't know if she's ever gonna debut or if they're just making sure she's absolutely like ready to perform in front of people because everybody knows she's The Rock's daughter. So they want to make sure she's like maybe she's had like 50 matches, but none of them televised or in front of people, if that makes sense. But I finally added her about a month ago in our universe mode, so that would be like November of 2022. And I mean, I don't have anything to go off of other than the fact that she's The Rock's daughter, and somebody had made a cool I took somebody had her face really well, so I took that, and then somebody made an outfit on a different one with a bad face. So I just took the outfit from the bad face one, put it on the one with the good face, and it's this cool like female version of The Rock's outfit, but it says Johnson on it instead of The Rock. Um, and I just gave her The Rock's theme, The Rock's entrance, The Rock's moves, and I don't know, it's pretty cool. I've had her she's had 3 matches so far. She debuted in the main event of one of the NXT episodes with The Rock as her manager. I think she beat Kiana James, and then she was part of the War Games 3-on-3 match. Simone Johnson teamed up with Saray and Wendy Chu, and they beat Indy Hartwell, Lash Legend, and someone else, I think. And then she's had one other match beating Lash Legend on Level Up. So Simone Johnson has had 3 matches in our universe so far. She's got star written all over her. She's basically the female Rock, at least in our universe mode, which means I probably will have her on the main roster before too long. I'll probably have her on the WrestleMania card. I'm even thinking about if you guys made it this far and you're hearing me say these words, let me know what you think in the comments section. I'm thinking about, instead of The Rock versus Roman Reigns, I'm thinking about The Rock and Simone Johnson versus Roman Reigns, and I guess it would have to be Tamina at that point. But too bad it couldn't have been Naomi. But let me know what you think about that, or if it should just be straight up The Rock versus Roman Reigns, or some kind of combination of both. There's no saying that it couldn't be both. All right, Tia Hale. She's 18 years old in real life, and we're about to find out next week in real life on NXT. She just graduated high school, so we're gonna find out what college she decides to attend. Which, I mean, the obvious answer is the only university on the show, Chase U. But I'm really hoping that it's a second university, a rival school to Chase U, that Tia joins, and maybe we can throw some of these guys that don't have names yet as like, maybe it has David Bostonian, Edwin Grande, and Joseph Scullythorpe, and maybe they're part of like a different U, and Thea joins that and feuds with Chase U. I mean, NXT is just that crazy that I would welcome anything at this point. Like, obviously, I don't like the Joe Gacy feud with Braun Breaker like everyone else, but I'm fine with like Joe Gacy in general, like the Druid thing. Let's see. I think the only people we're missing are the 4 people I already mentioned that I brought over from NXT UK. Ilya Dragunov, I told you his story. He won the NXT title and started trading it back and forth with Tony D'Angelo, and is currently trying to feud. I mean, not feud. He is feuding. Currently trying to take out the rest of the Tony D'Angelo family one by one. Jordan Devlin came over from NXT UK, and he turned heel on Nathan Frazier and had a long feud. Ended up winning against Nathan Frazier, and looks to be one of the Jordan Devlin looks to be one of the top contenders for the North American title. And then last but not least, I think this is everyone. Mustache Mountain, I pretty much told you all about already. Um, just good hands to have on the NXT tag division, and I'm thinking about maybe calling up Tyler Bate soon, but leaving Trent Seven down because he's too old and he might retire soon. So I think that's everybody. I'm exhausted. I'm not going to stream anymore today. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow on the streams, and hopefully we get to the Royal Rumble because I'm really looking forward to those 2 Royal Rumble matches. Thanks for watching. Peace. Bye.